Welcome into Citywide Sports Park here in the Forest City for Ontario Football Conference Week 7 action featuring the number 6 team in the nation versus the number 7 team in the nation, both coming in with a 4-2 record. It's the London Beefeaters hosting the Ottawa Sooners. I'm Jonathan Urbanowicz, joined by Ron Forwarda. Ron, these two teams locked it up to start off the OFC regular season. That was back on August 13th in our nation's capital at Carleton University. And, well, the Beefeaters literally ran away with a 42-14 victory. But a lot of things have changed in the meantime, including the Ottawa Sooners going on a 4-game winning streak that was broken up last week by the St. Clair Saints. The Beefeaters coming off of a big win and deja vu all over again via a rouge. I can't believe that, Ron, but with all that put aside, who has momentum going into today's game?
Yeah, Ottawa definitely has a lot of momentum coming into this game as we see the Beefeaters coming in. White jerseys, red pants today, John. Ottawa's in all black. Ottawa's got a lot of momentum. I'll tell you, that game that they played against St. Clair was a lot closer than people think it was. They took the ball, drove it down on the Saints, the number 2 team in the country, I might add, and scored. The game that the Beefeaters played in Ottawa was very, very close at half. It wasn't until the third quarter where the Beefeaters really jumped on them, started establishing that run game a little bit more, and got some traction and really took over.
And it wasn't just your regular hiatus either of the offseason, which was casual for the London Beefeaters, but for the Ottawa Sooners, it was the first time hitting the gridiron in several years.
Yeah, it was a rebirth for the Ottawa Sooners, who has been a staple in the CJFL, in the Ontario Conference, for years as well, I might add.
The owner, GM, and head coach Kevin Ling said after that London loss that after we played London, there was a belief in our team that we have the place in this league and that we can play with these teams. The team believes it, our coaches believe it, I believe it. It's just a matter of continuing to focus on that. He went on to say, what I'm satisfied to an extent about the level of competition our players have been putting in and their drive to win.
Yeah, they really have competed well this year. Again, you have to think of it as it's almost a brand new franchise all over again here. You know, when you miss a year and try to come back, your recruiting lines, everything that you had established is cut. So it's reestablishing these things, and the Ottawa Sooners have done a very, very good job. Not a very big team, okay? Just call it what it is. They are a good-sized team. They are very athletic, very fast. They're going to put the ball to the edges and let their speed take over.
Beefeaters played in the national championship. In fact, it was the first time hosting the CJFL championship game in London, Ontario. Unfortunately, they were shut out by the Langley Rams, who finally won their first CJFL title in the 113th edition. But going off the Ottawa Sooners history, 4-time national champions. However, the last time comes all the way back in 1992.
Yeah, and it's been really since the early 90s where the Sooners have been the power in Ontario football, but it's great to see them back in those
black and orange uniforms.
Black and orange jerseys.
Kind of look like Clark Road uniforms here locally.
Yeah, like Clark Road uniforms. The Oregon State Beavers, Oregon.
That's
State,
right, State.
Yeah, Oregon State Beavers.
So, as commonly done throughout the regular season, well, the Beefeaters get lucky. They win the 50-50 coin toss, but they're going to defer to the second half, meaning that Ottawa is going to receive this ball to start this game. Now, if you recall, the start of the last game between these two teams was a doozy. It was a 105-yard touchdown kick return by L.J. Dyer, which actually matched a 39-year-old club record set by Tom Bitts to start off a regular season for longest kick return. Unbelievable. It looks like we are heading off to the national anthem sung by the ownership group in Jen Annan, and as these two teams pay their respect nationally, we'll have some football on the other side.
Oh, Canada. stand on guard for thee.
The national anthem sang by Jen Annan before this Ontario Football Conference Week 7 competition. Technically, CGFL Week 10 competition if you're looking at it from the national scale.
Yeah, and let's talk about that national scale. Still sitting at number 1 is those
Okanagan Sun.
Okanagan Sun.
A perfect 7-0 to start this season. The dominant team in the OFC, though St. Clair, don't call them Fratman Saints, are 6-0. And then the Regina Thunder roll in at 5-0 at number 3.
Yeah, two pretty good teams out west and a really good team that we saw here a couple weeks ago, John, in Ontario. I think it's going to come down to which team here can establish the run. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a quarterback battle here today, Johnny.
The Beefeaters used 261 yards on the ground attack in their defense for 6 turnovers in that 42-14 victory over the Ottawa Sooners in Week 1. However, I think a different Sooners team that's now won 4 in a row. That winning streak was snapped last week by the St. Clair Saints in a tough 35-16 battle. Now remember, the last time these two teams kicked off a ball to start a game, it was returned 105 yards by L.J. Dyer. This one looks like it might scamper out of bounds, and we got already our first penalty of the game, Ron Ferwerda.
Yeah, a little slip on the kick there, unfortunately, for the Beefeaters. It just goes right out of bounds. He got that off the side of his foot. Ottawa with great field position to start the game with the ball at the 40-yard line.
We'll go to the starting line for the offensive team in the Ottawa Sooners, centered by Mitchell Christie.
Yeah, you got left tackle Jet Hudson, Amida Hafizan at left guard, Noah Ferguson at right guard, and Charles Adrich at right tackle. Let's see if these guys can establish the run. Again, I think you're going to see a lot more passing out of Ottawa today than you are the Beefs.
The ball starts at the 40-yard line for the visiting Ottawa Sooners. Their quarterback Cohen comes into this game, throwing the ball 69 out of 127 passing attempts. That's 54.3%. Here he is in the shotgun with 3 running the line. Blitz coming off the edge from the Beefeaters. They're going to run this ball to the right side. Great active defense by the Beefeaters. Was able to stymie number 5 in his tracks.
Yeah, good pursuit from the linebacker position and the safety position. Number 29 for the Beefeaters, wrapping it up there. That might have been number 39, Matthew Smith. Not 100% sure on that, but a good job coming right down the line of scrimmage, scraping it up, throwing him down for a loss of a half yard. Second down.
He goes in the wrong direction, does Wilson on that carry. That's his 55th carry of the season. Over the course of the 54 coming into this game, he had 259 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. So what do you do here on 2nd and long, Ron?
Short pass, something to the wide side, look for a flare out or something to one of the fullbacks.
Owen Cohen with, weapons to his left side. He's looking to that left side, fires a dart. It misses the intended target, though, trying to find Jackson Ayeba that time.
Yeah, what we're just trying to do is do a sit-down route there, find the soft spot in the zone, sit down in there, a little bit overshot. Good pressure by the Beefeaters' defensive front there, brought the extra man, and again, Ottawa's forced to turn it over. They've got the wind at their back in the first quarter, John. So good 3 and out for the Beefeaters to start.
Forces the punt return team to come out here for the Beefeaters. Back at his own, we'll call it 20-yard line is Nick McKenzie. And so far, he's got 12 punt returns this season, 90 yards over the course of 12 punts. And, that's only just a 7.5 average.
But it's maintaining possession. That's what you're trying to do on the punt. You just want to get the ball straight up, get as much yards as you can.
Jared Musavali goes to punt this one away. This will be a 17th punt of the season, averaging 29.8 yards per punt. This one rolls off of the carpet, picked up by the Beefeaters, trying to squeeze between the hash marks. I think that's Andrew McLeod, number 32. No, yeah. I beg my pardon. It's Keegan Cardona, number 32.
Yeah, Cardona with the return on that. A little bit of a short punt. Good bounce for the Sooners. Got about 15 more yards on the bounce. But the Beefeaters were able to return it beyond the 50-yard line. Just that straight-ahead return.
We'll go to the starting offensive line of the Beefeaters, starting with left tackle Ahmed El-Tarabi.
Yeah, left guard is Ryan Mason. David Legg, the super senior, is at center. Kevin Richards at right guard, and Nolan Walkin at right tackle.
So we get a dose of Taz Vang Bell up to the 55-yard line. Or no, again, I'm getting my numbers confused. That was number 3, which is L.J. Dyer. That'll be his 45th rushing attempt of the season, averaging 5.8 yards per carry and 4 rushing yards coming into this game with 254 yards under his belt before that carry.
Yeah, it gives a good straight-ahead inside zone or an inside power run there. That's what their Beefeaters are trying to establish. They want to establish the inside run game here.
Ethan Chambers, only 31 of 82 passing so far this season, and maybe that's why we saw another dose of L.J. Dyer, who dove towards the first down marker. I think the officials are going to give it to him here.
Yeah, I think he got just beyond the first down there.
So going back to Chambers passing, 31 of 82, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. However, he does have 4 rushing touchdowns. Do the passing numbers scare you a bit as a Beefeaters fan?
Not really. Not in the context of the offense that Coach Schneider wants to run. He wants to run the ball on you. He is an old-school power football coach. This is what they want to do. They want to run the double team at the point of attack, get the ball behind there, attack the short side of the field. Good gain of about 4 yards by L.J. Dyers there.
Well, I mentioned in the last game against these Ottawa Sooners back on August 13th at Tag Stadium at Carleton University, the Beefeaters used 261 yards on the ground alone to beat up the Sooners defense and on their way to that 42-14 victory. And here we have 3 straight run plays to start this game. It's Dyer, Dyer, Dyer.
See, this is what Coach Schneider likes to do. Get you in that second now. He's going to run a little power play right here as well. And here comes the read.
So Ethan Chambers holds onto it this time. A booming hit coming across to knock down the quarterback. That's Sean Charles on the money.
Yeah, good job. Again, they took away the inside run. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to run the read there to get the defensive end to commit to crash down, which he did. Ethan pulls it out, but the linebacker is looped across and does a good job of cleaning
You can tell the Ottawa
there.
defense has scouted that play out, though, as it looks like A.J. Williamson goes out to punt this one away. He's already got 28 punts this season. Got a lot of mileage on that leg, 1,117 yards. That's a 39.9 average. He has had 2 blocked punts go back for touchdowns, though. This time he gets this one away safely. It's going to ricochet off the carpet between the 2 Sooner returners, and the returner actually gets knocked down to the ground all the way back around his 5-yard line. That was Jonathan Corbett, the first one in for the Beefeaters.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's going to be the one that's going to be flagged here for the Beefeaters as well.
Within the halo.
Oh, he was well down and then made contact with him. So this is going to be a 15-yard penalty going against the Beefeaters. That's going to put the ball about the 20-yard line. And I was just about to say, look at the field position flip. This is a typical Coach Schneider type of game. Early. We want to flip the field. We want to get the field position in our favor here, and that's what we want to do.
Ottawa fans were probably hoping for a Week 4 style performance when they beat the Quinte Skyhawks 53-3. Keyshawn Upshaw Tynes was named the OFC Special Teams Player of the Week for week number 4. Why? Well, 2 kick returns for a touchdown. Not only did he have a kickoff 88 yards to the house, but then later on, a missed field goal. He brought 115 yards back in the same game.
So Ottawa's on the 1, John. I'll make a correction in a second here.
So the penalty flag was picked up then, partner, as Cohen, empty backfield, flush out of the pocket. He's going to go for a run. Just tackled up by the shoestrings, if you will. Johnny on the spot was Bailey Lynch, as it looked like Cohen had open real estate down the field.
Yeah, he had a little bit of real estate down the field. Bailey Lynch coming up from that 2-back position.
So going back to the penalty, non-penalty.
It was a penalty. But what it was an illegal block in the back. The Ottawa player blocked the Beefeater player.
So half the distance to the goal.
No, ball's on the 1 because it was illegal crack from the behind. It's the unnecessary roughness, so it's a 15-yard penalty. Ball was placed on the 1-yard line.
So backed up, facing their own end zone right now are the Sooners. 3 weapons to the right side for Cohen. Once again forced out of the pocket. Sort of side-slung this one and narrowly picking it off just in and out of the hands of Connor Winrow.
Yeah, the free safety just lurking across there. Does a good job of reading the quarterback. This is what you're trying to do. Good pressure. The quarterback steps up, tries to fire that ball into that shallow area that they're trying to do. That time the safety jumped the route, understood exactly what they were doing.
Ottawa Sooners have put up 188 points so far over the course of the OFC regular season. They've given up 115. Is it safe to say they give up 117 on this next play?
Yeah, you're definitely giving up the deuce on this to flip the field, the 2 points. You don't want to give up points early, but these are two that you absolutely have to take.
Cardona and McKenzie are back for the punt return, but again, you would imagine Gerald Musvali, I'm going to get that name right, will probably take a knee, and no, he is going to punt this one away, so good on ya, as Cardona comes in at the 40 and gathers it up. Sutter steps at the 35 and cuts back, trying to go against the grain. Active tackle by number 83 of the Sooners. Great job to not fall for any Cardona's tricks. That was Noah Avery.
Yeah, this is a really good job of coverage downfield.
6'4", 230 pounds, and he can move like a jetliner.
Yeah, that was a gentleman. Here we're going to see it on the replay. I'm shocked that they kicked this ball here. So, okay, game's on. They kick the ball, does a good job, picks it up at the 40-yard line. He ends up getting a gain of 4. But look at all of a sudden there. If he doesn't make this tackle, look at all that real estate to the outside there.
Ethan Chambers starts this next drive from the Ottawa 36-yard line. They're going to do a play action. Nigel Morris! That would have been the touchdown, folks, but in and out of the oven mitts.
Yeah, this is what Coach Snyder wants to do. This is the point I was going to make on the last drive. He wants to run it, he wants to run it, he wants to run it, then he wants to play action you.
So going back to Ethan Chambers' stat, though, of passing so far this season, just 31 of 82 coming into this game, but when your receivers are dropping balls like that, Ron, how can you blame the QB?
That's exactly where it's got to be, and that's 6 points otherwise. But second down and 10, look for, maybe a run on this play, John?
2 swag to the line. In fact, they go back to the play action, fooling you and fooling me. Chambers to the near sidelines, trying to stay in bounds. One heck of an effort by Mitchell Spence, but it still goes down as an incomplete pass.
Yeah, incomplete pass here for Mitchell Spence. Unfortunately, Ethan does a good job of stepping up into the pass from the rush.
Ottawa punts that ball out of their own end zone, much to our surprise, Ron. We thought they were going to concede the safety and use the field positioning battle. Instead, Beefeaters kind of get a free drive out of it. They go back-to-back on the play actions. One really should have been caught by Nigel Morris there. And instead, they're going to have to settle for a punt. So maybe Ottawa was onto something, trusting their defense.
Well, good job. The ball was on your 3-yard line, and then if you can end up with plus territory in here, you should do well.
Second punt to the game for A.J.
Nice
Williamson.
high.
Trying to pin his opponent within the 20. This one's bouncing back. All the Beefeaters in white uniforms are trying to get back. The ball is loose. Now, the problem is, though, not enough yards were given to the punt returner for Ottawa, and even if the Beefeaters had recovered the pigskin, it can't be theirs.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's going to be Ottawa ball. Now this ball was on the ground, so it's going to be the 5-yard variety of the no yards call, but it's definitely moving up here. And again, Ottawa has kind of gained 20 yards in that field position. That's the win that you get at Citywide.
Last week in Week 6 of competition, the Sooners did lose 35-16 to the undefeated St. Clair Saints. The Sooners actually opened the scoring. It was their quarterback Owen Cohen punching it in from just a yard out. However, that 7-0 lead did not last long as Dante Lewis returned the 85-yard kickoff for a TD to tie it all up. Cohen ended up having pretty much a quiet day, at least as far as the passing's concerned. 7 completed passes for 62 yards and a touchdown strike to Shamar Scarrett.
So yeah, really impressive day for the Sooners last week, hanging in there as long as they did, and for again the number 2 ranked nationally St. Clair Saints.
Undefeated at 6-0, your number 1 team in the OFC, number 2 in the CJFL. We get a delayed handoff to Wilson, who got the cold shoulder this time from Powell Szymanski.
Wow. That's pretty much all I got to say about that.
You can see Szymanski strutting it off.
Absolutely, here he comes. You can see it coming right here, coming right across from that outside linebacker position. Boom!
Wilson's carried the ball, like I mentioned, 54 times coming into this game. He does get 8 yards, but it ends up being 8 yards the hard way thanks to Szymanski at the tail end.
Well, Szymanski absolutely lit him up, but really good play design. They looked at the pass, ran a draw, so they're trying to take advantage of an aggressive Beefeater pass rush.
2 swag to the line to the right side. It looks like another dose of Wilson. Does the battle of the lines help them out? They needed 2 yards. I think they got 3, and they're going to move the chains.
Yeah, Szymanski was in on the tackle, and then we had a bunch of Beefeaters in there.
He's like a dog on a bone right now.
Yeah, trying to strip the ball away. The whistle had gone. He definitely got the yards again. First down for the Sooners. using the wind to their advantage.
Over that 4-game win streak for the Ottawa Sooners, it included a 37-7 victory over the GTA Grizzlies, 28-21 over the Hamilton Hurricanes, 53-3 over the Quinte Skyhawks, and then another 40-7 victory at the GTA Grizzlies barn in Brampton. So Wilson to the near side, trying to be chased down by Dylan Clark. Clark almost was able to strip the ball away from him. Great sportsmanship shown at the end of that play, too, by Connor Crozier.
Yeah.
Still, Wilson was able to get 4 yards on that play. So we knew these two teams were going to run the ball a whole lot, and they're sticking to that adage early.
Yeah, this is kind of what we thought we were going to see, that wide game, get the ball to the edges. I thought they'd do it a little bit more in the past. They're trying to get the spread there. Connor Crozier, the product out of Medway with the kind of the finish there. Really great kid, number 44 for the Beefeaters. Really great to see him out there grinding away.
Beefeaters defense has given up 121 points so far in the regular season as Cohen steps back in the pocket, flushed out to the right side, being chased down by the Belleville native Dylan Clark. Cohen is going to gain positive yards. In fact, he's close to the first down marker. However, a flag back of the field might be bringing this play back.
Absolutely. You've got a hold on the interior here. I missed the number of the Beefeater, but he was absolutely grabbed and spun around here. You can kind of see it right there. Almost tackled a little bit is what the call is going to be, but it was a definite hold. It's definitely going to be going back 10 yards, and we're going to have second down repeated here for the Boomer Sooners.
The Beefeaters' three-man front is led by the defensive end and Dylan Thomas, Anthony Germain as the nose tackle, and then Dylan Clark, who was trying to hunt down the quarterback there, the Belleville native. In fact, your OFC Defensive Player of the Week, Ron, was in on the action on that last play.
So it's not a hold that they're calling. It is unnecessary roughness and then objectional conduct against the Beefeaters.
Can't be doing that.
So we're going to have a chat here at the end of this.
Going back to my point, though, of the Beefeaters giving up 121 points,
Yeah.
Ron, all of last season, they gave up 117. Does that scare you a little bit to be a Beefeaters fan?
Not when you look at 50 of those points were against the Fratmen, or excuse me, against the Saints.
You just had to do it.
Yeah, it's always...
I can hear the haterade coming on the YouTube comments now.
That's fine. At ronforwerda.ca, don't care.
Invalid entry.
Yeah. So it's going back 5 yards here is the long and the short of it. The
Beefeaters kind of get lucky
15.
there then, Ron.
Yeah. And it's the lot... It's the loss of down. No, second down. No, I was going to say that shouldn't be a loss of down.
Linebacker core, you just mentioned Connor Crozier, Ben Regier, Bailey Lynch, and Powell Samansky. Samansky laid a huge hit down on Wilson during an 8-yard gander earlier in this quarter. Still scoreless here at Citywide Sports Park in the opening quarter of play. 6:30 remains on the scoreboard here. Shotgun goes Cohen, rolls back into the pocket, looking to air this one down. Oh, trying to adjust to the ball, but he couldn't reel it in. It bounces off of the carpet. And unfortunately, for number 4, that'll go down as an incomplete pass.
This ball was tipped. Otherwise, it's going to be a completion. You see Crozier coming with the blitz there. Picked up nicely by Ottawa, but right at the end there, I just can't quite see the number of it.
That was Shamar Scarrett, by the way, the intended target, the guy that caught the lone touchdown pass from Cohen last week in that 35-16 loss to the Saints.
Yeah, I believe that was Gabe Savage that actually tipped it for the Beefeaters coming off the left end. But again, good job of holding after giving up the first down. Now Ottawa punts the ball away. Let's see if the Beefeaters can flip the field still.
Musavali had a beautiful punt out of his own end zone. This one's going to ricochet off the Beefeaters 50, then 40. Cardona's going to try and extend the field the far way, but a horrible block will bring this play back no matter what. So a tackle by the Sooners at the end of that play, performed by Anthony Kolacek, but again, a plethora of flags on the return.
Yeah, this is the foul this is the block that they're trying to get out of football.
Blindside.
It is the pedestrian/blindside block. You can see it right there. You can't do that. You can't be going back towards your own end zone and make contact towards your end zone. So that's the no-no.
London comes into this game, Ron, with 1,513 total offensive yards. Out of those 1,513 yards, 1,089 have been done via the rush. Is that a little too much of a one-trick pony for your liking?
Yes and no, okay? In the 3-down game, it's hard to establish a run. But what you're trying to do is establish a culture as well. The Beefeaters want to be a tough physical football team that is run first. So I don't mind the almost 2-to-1 ratio right now with the run. That tells me that your blocking up front is excellent.
And here we go with LJ Dyer finding a seam and takes about 3 Sooners to take him down around the 32-yard line. That'll move the chains with ease. One thing though I am noticing, dosing of LJ Dyer, but we have not seen the Tasmanian Devil yet in Taz Van Bell.
Well, LJ Dyer is a little bit more of a physical runner, a little bit lower to the ground, where Taz Van Bell is much more of a hit the edge and go type of guy. So maybe they're trying to set something up for later on.
1st and 10, another dose of Dyer. Already his 5th carry of the game. He's going to scamper out of bounds. A bit of a late hit if you ask me.
Good job of 11 yards, and there is a flag on the play for that. Probably
he already had taken, it's not the first step, but once he takes that 2nd step out of bounds, I think that's a little too late.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be going up 15 yards on this after we see the replay.
And going back to Dyer, I already mentioned how he tied that 39-year mark set by Tom Bitts by starting off the game with a 105-yard kick return touchdown. In that same game, Ron, he added 2 rushing touchdowns. He only had the ball 7 times in his hand. He's almost had the ball 7 times in this first quarter.
Yeah.
He had 30 yards in that first game, 2 touchdowns, and that massive kick return to start it all off.
Yeah, so again, it's a really good job of really understanding where your athletes are and getting the ball in your athlete's hand. LJ Dyer is definitely one of the top athletes for these London Beefeaters.
Do we get another dose of Dyer? No, it's Chambers keeping on to the rock. He's going to get to the sidelines. He'll pick up 2 or 3 yards. Though I'll say this, wisely goes out of bounds as number 6 was trying to chase him down in a Sooners uniform.
Yeah, so what you're trying to do here is you establish that inside run again. See how both of the ends crash down on that, and Ethan does a really good job of understanding that, getting to the edge, getting your 3-4 yards, line up, do it again.
And despite the fact that it was the deepest point to start a drive so far in this game for Ethan Chambers, he's already brought his team up to the Ottawa Sooners 48-yard line.
So again, good drive against the wind too.
Weapons to the left side, and he finds one. That's Nick McKenzie. Here's yards after the catch, splitting through the secondary, eventually trying to go to that far pylon. They're going to mark him down at the 1-yard line, so it officially goes down as a 50-yard gain between Ethan Chambers and McKenzie. But man, oh man, I'd say more than 80% of that play was McKenzie's actions.
Yeah, exactly. So this is exactly what you're looking for on that pass. So this is why you run the ball as much as you do, is you get those creases in the passing game when they become available, but you have to take full advantage of them. That time the Beefeaters are able to complete the pass, and there's nobody back there. There's nobody deep. And then all of a sudden, you're off to the races. Nick McKenzie with a great job there.
In the 16-15 victory, walk-off style last week in Hamilton at Tim Hortons Field, Ethan Chambers had 137 yards on the ground and included a touchdown. He goes right behind the line of center. They're pushing forward. There's a flag on the play. No indications by the officials for a touchdown just yet. And by the way, it was actually the Pinto, Anthony Pinto, who went in with the big man package.
Yeah, Anthony Pinto, but also Ben Regier was in there. I think he was the one that was the ball carrier on that. I think you're going to get somebody for the offside. I'm just waiting to see, was it the Beefeaters lined up offside, or Ottawa didn't give them enough room, or
either way, it's not a touchdown because there never was an indication by anybody in a zebra uniform.
I actually don't think he got in. I think the ball was on the 2-yard line here, John, and I think he's pretty close. So yeah, they lined up offside. So it doesn't matter. We're just reset
half the distance to the goal,
to the goal, or the ball is placed on the 1, which is what it is.
I don't have my glasses either,
so
if I
there you go.
Your child's name,
first down
I
and
apologize.
goal to go for the Beefeaters. 4:17 left in the scoreless first quarter here, John.
And although I have a sneaky suspicion that scoreboard's about to change real quick.
It should have a different number on it already, but it doesn't.
So once again, it's actually Pinto at the helm, going
12.
right behind the center. He does take the snap, hands this one off to LJ Dyer. Dyer is in for the touchdown. However, there is a flag on the play.
Okay, so they have already indicated it was offside against the Ottawa Sooners. Penalty decline. Touchdown, Beefs.
So it goes down as a 2-yard touchdown dance for L.J. Dyer. Not a bad way to cap off the first quarter of play when you consider they gave him the ball 5 of the first 6 offensive plays, and this is a guy that got the ball 7 times in that 42-14 victory in Week 1.
Yeah, so again, really good job of establishing what you're trying to do is establish the run. You want to run the ball. That's what the Beefeaters' MO is. That's what they want to make their bed with. That's what they want to do is be that run physical team.
A.J. Williamson hits the PAT. He is now 16 of 17 this season. And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but man, those PATs end up being huge at the end of the day. We've already seen that in Week 1 of NFL action.
Well, we've seen that, and I'm just pointing at Coach Melrose because he knows what's coming here. I'm telling you, kickers are people too. If you don't have a kicker, you got no chance in the Canadian game.
It's funny because I believe the PA announcer here today, Mr. Woody, was also a kicker in the AUS brand of football back in his heyday. That was many moons ago, though, mind you. As it is 4:02 remaining here in the opening quarter of play. This is Ontario Football Conference Week 7 action. Thanks for joining us. I want to give a big shout out to Alex Schleihoff, our camera crew, as well as our producer Adam Melrose, the Constantine's helping us out. I'm Jonathan Urbanowicz, joined by Ron Forwarder. We're happy to take you through CJFL Week 10 action. Number 6 Sooners versus number 7 Beefeaters. Although, if the Beefeaters beat them today, you'd imagine those numbers change in Week 11 power rankings.
Yeah, they'll probably end up flipping a little bit, but more importantly, this is going to be probably determine who hosts the 2-3 game in the playoff seeding. So this is definitely a must-win for both teams.
Both teams coming in with a 4-2 record. The Beefeaters started off the season 3-0, but then hit a wall in back-to-back losses to the Saints, whereas the Sooners started off the season with an L by the Beefeaters and went on a 4-game win streak, only to then just recently lose to the Saints. As this return will make it up to, well, we'll say about the 30-yard line. Some pushing and shoving after the whistle, and it continues, Ron.
Yeah, it continues afterwards, and I think this is, they're going to let the extracurricular go until that last shot. I think this is going to go against Ottawa. I think we're going to see this move back 15 yards here as we see the return. Good job of crawling it, and then there's the extracurricular activity. Thrown down by 1, but it was a late hit. Like, well after both teams start leaving, there was that late shot here.
We all know how the Beefeaters won last year's OFC Championship with the walk-off Rouge Acumen Stadium over the St. Clair Saints. But then last week, Tim Hortons Field, games tied 15-all with 4 seconds left. They send A.J. Williamson out to try a 39-yard field goal. He misses it wide left, but it goes out of the back of the end zone in the Canadian brand of football. Oh yeah, that's a single, a walk-off single, a 16-15 win.
Yeah, Sexy's playing football. I don't care what they say.
I don't know about that.
So it was against the Beefeaters too, by the way.
Cohen throws his back.
So this is the live ball.
I'm kind of shocked to see, though. I thought when he threw it back to Matthew Gravel, I thought Gravel was then going to try and look to go down deep with it.
I think they were trying to, but I think he had good coverage there. Willie Maboku out of St. Joe's High School in St. Thomas, Ontario, with the tackle of there. Spent last year on the East Coast. Good to see him back in a Beefeater uniform.
So the Sooners actually go backwards 3 yards. Cohen's going to try and get it back here. Flush out of the pocket, narrowly avoid being sacked. Trying to stiff arm his way around. Clark fires a dart down the far sidelines off the hands of Shamar Scarrett. That's the second time he's tried to target Scarrett. Scarrett still trying to get his first reception after catching a TD last week.
Yeah, Scarrett was open on this. As you can see, this is a hard play to do. You're rolling out, and now you're just sitting down. Look at this. Great zip on the ball. He's got him. He's got him wide open. Maboku was the one tracking him all the way across the field there. But again, turn it over, 3rd down.
18 degrees at kickoff. We've cooled down to 17 degrees. The wet stuff's supposed to stay away in the Forest City till about 9 p.m. this evening, which helps us out in this game. However, we are starting to see a bit of a gust, which is always a common theme here at Citywide Sports Park.
Yeah, a.k.a. the wind tunnel for those of you who don't live in London. This place is always windy, and the wind's always coming from one direction or another.
And this will be another punt by Girard. No, potential fake. Oh, I love it. He gave himself some real estate, and he's able to get this one down the field. The Beefeater steps out of bounds accidentally, and Keegan Cardona, what a nice play, special teams play. You talk about kickers being people too.
Like, look at this. I think he should take it and run this. There's the linebacker screaming across.
But he was smart enough.
I didn't see it.
He was smart enough, though, to recognize that and then go, wait a minute, I have the runway to kick the ball, and I can still do it behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so again, really good job. Great job flipping the field, okay? Field position in the Canadian game is so important.
So Gerard Musavuli, I should say, has had a tough year as far as the field goals. He's 1 for 4. But man, oh man, that was a massive punt this time as we get another dose of L.J. Dyer. He's already got a 2-yard rushing touchdown. Really shocked the officials' whistle.
Yeah.
Did not go sooner there as forward momentum had stopped.
I'm kind of surprised with that one too. But again,
Get 7 yards.
Good inside run. This is what Coach Snyder likes to do. He loves to run the ball in between the tackles. Pound on you, pound on you, pound on you, and then that play-action pass.
Dyer got his 5th rushing touchdown with 4:02 remaining here in the first quarter of play from 2 yards out. There's 2 minutes now remaining in this first quarter. After that last L.J. Dyer run brings it to a 2nd and 3. 3 weapons to the left side for Ethan Chambers. Fires it over. Nigel Morris wants a pass interference call. He's not going to get it. And for a guy that's thrown 3 interceptions, that was close to a Sooners pick.
Yeah, so all you're trying to do, they're both fighting for position of the exact same spot on the field. The offensive player and the defensive player are entitled to the field position.
Sooners, by the way, have 11 interceptions so far in the OFC regular season. It's number 2, Samir Lucene, that leads the charge with 3. But there are 3 Sooners with multiple INTs so far this season.
Yeah, that was close to being another one for the Sooners.
A.J. Williamson back to punt this one away, as I mentioned before, averaging 39.9 yards per punt. This is a beautiful spiral, caught around the 48-yard line, and now bringing it back with a head of steam is Shamar Scarrett's trying to slice and dice, and we get another flags thrown at the end of this play. It seems like we can't go more than 3 plays without those orange flags flying.
Yeah, so I think we got multiple fouls here. One's going to be a block in the back or a hold, and I'm not sure what this one on the sidelines was. Here, good job finishing it.
So I mentioned
helps him up. I don't
really late flag there.
I don't know about that, but
I mentioned the Ottawa Sooners winning 4 national championships in the CJFL, including their last one coming back in 1992. They had a blast over the 70s. They won in 74, 79, and another one in 84. But after 35 years of competing in the CJFL from 60 to 95, they actually ended up moving to the Quebec Junior Football League at the beginning of the 96 season, and they would win 3 Manson Cup championships, 97, 2001, and back-to-back in 2002, only for the Sooners to then rejoin the CFL in 2009, and then after a brief hiatus, join us again this year.
Sorry, just watching the play there, John.
Oh, that's your job. They go back to the ground attack partner and pick up 4 yards here. And again, the MO for both these two teams is run the ball first. And so far, so good for the Sooners and the Beefeaters.
You know, I'm kind of surprised because I really thought that the Sooners had an advantage with some of these receivers, and I thought they'd take advantage of that. From what I saw,
Owen Cohen's completed 69 of 127 passes coming into this game, 8 touchdowns, however, 4 INTs as well. So he's going to fake the handoff here. He will complete the pass. The ball almost squirted out, but it was Richard Graham, I should say, hanging on to it.
Yeah, Willie Moboku was on the coverage there. It is going to be a gain of about 11 yards on that for a Sooner first down.
Actually, in Week 5, Richard Graham had one of the strangest stat lines a linebacker has ever had. He was inserted into the offense and carried the ball 5 times for minus 11 yards, but scored 2 touchdowns. Then in the fourth quarter, he would block a kick, pick up a loose ball, and scored his 3rd touchdown, albeit on the defensive side. He rounded out the day with 3.5 tackles and a 2nd fumble recovery.
I'd love to see the film on that one, on that particular day alone.
Cohen, given time, completes the pass. Now look at this muscular effort by the Sooner. Where there's a will, there's a way, and he will not be denied as Noah Avery eventually goes down. It'll bring up a 2nd and 6, and I think that should conclude the opening quarter of play, and it does.
Big physical receiver on the island out there, all by himself. Maboku does a great job of corralling him, but it takes 3 Beefeaters. Look at this. 3 Beefeaters to bring him down there. Wow, absolutely great strength and power and everything. Good gain of about 5 yards, which should have been thrown down for a gain of 1.
We go to the Nicholas Group box score after the first quarter of play, and well, the lone score came with 4:02 remaining in the opening quarter. It was L.J. Dyer, and to be honest with you, I don't think any player touched the ball more often in that first quarter than L.J. Dyer himself.
No, absolutely. He's been the workhorse for the Beefeaters here in the first quarter of this game.
He had 3 touchdowns in week 1 in our nation's capital against the same Sooner squad.
So let's see if Ottawa has got an answer for that. Now they're going into the wind. That's going to take the passing out of it as we see a pass fall incomplete.
It's funny you saying, oh, that's going to take the passing out of it. What do they do on the next play? Well, they try and complete the pass to Shamar Scarrett. And to be honest with you, not necessarily Scarrett's fault because some of these ball placements are kind of ill-advised, if you will. But Scarrett's been targeted 4 times, waiting for his first reception here in week 7.
And he's been targeted 4 times, but, 3 of those passes have been really, really low. So that's, something that
he's trying to pick him off the carpet and save his quarterback.
Are they going for it here?
Well, it is a 3rd down, partner.
They're going for it.
A big 3rd down play for Ottawa. Cohen flushed out. He'll be sacked. Powell Szymanski smothers him about 10-plus yards behind the line of scrimmage. They gambled. They lost the farm. It's the Beefeaters' ball.
I don't get that call at all. You're at midfield.
In a 7-0 game.
In a 7-0 game on the road. Your defense is playing very, very well. I don't get that call at all.
The only thing I'll throw out there is it did look like Owen Cohen, is a trippy name to say 100 times, it actually was starting to gain a little momentum with his arm, and maybe Coach Ling thought, this is the time he's finally going to hook up with Shamar Scarrett, I got a feeling. Well, not only did he not complete a pass, he never left his arm. It's Szymanski with a huge sack, turnover on downs. Beefeaters take over at the Sooners' 49-yard line.
I'm just shaking my head. I'm gonna keep saying that.
Yes, it is. Ethan Chambers faking the handoff, trying to go deep, overthrew the intended target, and yet again we see Mitchell Spence barking at the officials for a non-call, but to be honest with you, didn't see anything there.
There might have been a tug on it
earlier in the play. Absolutely.
But
nothing there. Come on.
No.
Whiners. They say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets removed.
That's true.
We're 1 minute away here in the second quarter of play. Thanks for joining us, by the way, at cjfl.org. He's Ron Forwarda. I'm Jonathan Urbanowicz. This is Ethan Chambers taking the snap and pump faking. The ball is loose, rumbling around on the carpet, and the Sooners have it. Sooners ball. Recovering in it, I believe, is number 92. That would be Ibrahim Hajay, the defensive lineman at 6'3" and 250 pounds.
Yeah, so what you got here is you got a fake draw, or you got a draw going on here. The hole was there. Unfortunately, he never,
So maybe Coach Ling has a bit of a crystal ball, because if you go back to the first quarter, they're at their 2-yard line. We're going, okay, they're going to take the safety and not punt. They end up punting that ball away and staying within this game, and it ended up being 7-0. There we go, well, you're down 7-0. You don't go for it here. 2 plays later, they got the ball back. They lost all of 6 yards. Like I said, he's got a crystal ball. Owen Cohen's got to watch out for the blind side. Steps up out of danger. Now rolling out to his left side. He's going to get smothered. The Beefeaters do eventually gobble him up, and that is Ben Regier coming over to make the tackle.
Yeah, Ben Regier, the linebacker. He could have been tackled in the backfield by a couple different Beefeaters.
Felt like Owen Cohen ran about 15 yards on that play. He'll pick up 3 officially.
He ran a lot more than 15 on that particular play.
He picked up 15. Picked up 3 officially, though.
Yeah. So, again, good job of evading the rush, good job of keeping his eyes downfield, looking for his receivers, but that time just nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Regier absolutely cleans it up.
We also haven't seen him go after Mark Webb. That's technically his number 2 receiver, if you will, with 276 receiving yards on 11 catches and 2 touchdowns this season. Here you see him sweeping in from the near side. A bit of a low snap. Flags go flying. Cohen throws this one, deflects off of a Sooner. Almost intercepted. Shamar Scarrett was the intended target. In fact, Willie Maboku almost picked it off.
Yeah, Maboku almost had it. I think but you're going to get a procedure here against Ottawa. I think that because they're trying to crack the Z down or get that waggle down motion.
Why wouldn't they just blow the play down then?
They called it against the Beefeaters.
Oh, okay.
No. I think he got offsetting here.
Offense and defense, you are right, as the official came to the near side and was speaking with his coworkers.
Because the illegal motion was there, but I think the Beefeaters also lined up. So I'm not just waiting for the white hats to determine it. Offside, yep.
So again, in that 35-16 loss last week to the St. Clair Saints, Cohen had a bit of a quiet day. 7 completed passes, 62 yards. His 1 TD strike was to Shamar Scarrett, although we've seen him try and target Scarrett a handful of times in this one, yet to really complete a big play. Second down, low snap again, handled by Owen Cohen. He's protected well in the pocket, tries to fire this one deep. Once again, just kind of too low for Matthew Gravel. I'm not blaming the receivers, but maybe they're going too far down their routes because they got to come back for their quarterback's arm.
Yeah, something's not adding up. Most
also
of those passes are being into the dirt.
And for Cohen, too, I'll say this. It doesn't help when you're constantly having to pick the ball up from your ankles to start the play, which he's done a couple times over these last drives.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of different factors in there. There's nothing wrong with the punter because...
Yeah, Jared Musavali and A.J. Williamson have truly been the stars so far in this first half of competition in what's just been a 7-0 game. So Musavali will get a load of this one. It'll be right in front of the Ottawa bench, and a whistle was blown.
So what the call on that is...
With the wind?
With the wind, and it held up, okay? So...
You don't see it all too often, but in the Canadian brand of football, they do make that call.
Yes, so that's kind of the...
Player safety.
Yeah, I believe the technical term is it's a pedestrian call. So you don't want someone to get absolutely smoked trying to run up for a ball or injure themselves running into another player.
And I mean, 9 times out of 10, the Beefeaters are just going to get flagged on that play anyway because there's no way white jerseys can escape the ball dropping right between them.
100, they're going to get flagged on that play. It seems to be.
So 12-12 remains before the halftime break. Ethan Chambers trying to go back to work will hand this one off to his running back. And he just snowplows his way into 3 Sooners and picks up 3 yards.
Yeah, but it was more important than that. You had to give the ball to L.J. Dyer on that to get his confidence back in handling the ball after that fumble on that last exchange. He was absolutely going to get the carry. It's just a matter of where that ball was going to go.
Would you like to see Ethan Chambers start to heat up with the passing a bit when you consider he had Nigel Morris open on that play action? It was no fault to Chambers. It went right off the bare mitts of Morris.
Yeah, I'd like to, this is what the Beast's MO is. They love that play action pass. They love that kind of stuff, but the Sooners are really starting to crowd that line of scrimmage now.
There were 3 weapons to the left side, and Chambers is picked off. Back the other way go the Sooners to pay dirt. It's a pick 6 for the Sooners.
Oh, and now you got flags after the play.
Well, for now, I believe that's number 28.
Yeah, it was number 20 with the interception. Does a really good job. Just beats the receiver to the spot.
Christian Fidel, the defensive back. Christian Fidel is number 28 in our scorebook. So we look at this as objectionable conduct on the Beefeaters, so it makes it worse. That should tack on after this play. And regardless, thanks to a huge defensive play, you're going to take a look at it right now.
Just jump the route.
Well, shocking, too, is Chambers has 3 weapons to his left side. He goes to the lone target to the right side. And like you said, the Sooner wisely jumped the route there. And as a result, it is Christian Fidel's first touchdown of the 2022 season. I mentioned how this team had 11 interceptions coming into this game. That's 12, and that's a pick 6. We're a PAT away from a tie game.
This is being kind of, the Sooners have done it a lot of different ways. Their defensive backfield is very, very athletic. Their wide receivers are very, very athletic. That was kind of the point I was making about I thought they try to get the ball out a little bit wider.
A botched snap. Jared Musavali's going to have to roll back. He's not even thinking about throwing this
just
ball.
Fall down,
He's
son.
just zigzagging in the backwards direction.
Just fall down,
He's
son.
Tecmo Bowling it. He might be doing a Bo Jackson instead. I thought he was going to Bo Jackson it, go all the way back to his own end zone and then somehow score. But no, he zigzags back 55 yards, runs out of gas, and goes, I'll go out of bounds. And somehow the Beefeaters still have a lead after all this, albeit just 7-6.
What also could have potentially happened, John, and I'm just going to throw it out there.
He never loaded it into his arm, though. Did you notice that? He never actually cocked back to be like, hey, I can throw this thing.
Well,
he had it tucked away to run backwards the entire time.
Okay, so the only thing that's going to happen on that are bad things for the Ottawa Sooners. Because if you, heaven forbid, fumble the ball, that ball's live. Okay? It is not blowing dead. They can return it for a safety. So it could be returned for a safety against Ottawa. Even at that's why I was saying through the entire time. Just fall down, son. Just fall down, son. You're not going anywhere.
Well, Jared Musavali coming into this game was 17 of 20 on the PAT. 17 of 20 now. He's now 17 of 21. And that really is a huge play when you consider the pick 6 by Christian Fidel opened up the door of opportunity for the Sooners to tie this game up when their offense hasn't had anything to show for themselves in this first half.
And for the record, the call wasn't against the Beefeaters. The call was against Ottawa after the play there. So you got to move that back from that point, hence why the Sooners are kicking off from the 35 here as well. So Ottawa to line up the kick. Kick is downfield, John. Good kick.
10:50 remains before the halftime break. Cardona taking out on a one-hopper back at the 20-yard line. Finds a seam. Beautiful open field tackle by Richard Graham. As I mentioned before him, he can get it done on both sides of the ball. It looks like the Beefeaters will start off with the 7-6 lead at the 37-yard line.
So, John, close game. This is kind of being, as the later in the season we go, as the weather changes, and it absolutely has changed into much more of a fall football season, the games tend to get a little bit closer, a little bit tighter. And you're starting to see that today. This game, week 1, remember, it was really close at half. It was a close game at half. It wasn't until the third quarter where the Beefeaters really put their foot in the ground and ran away with it.
Can Chambers shake off that last pass? Instead, they're going to go to a run with L.J. Dyer and pick up about 4 or 5 yards. Common for a guy that's averaging this season 5.8 yards per carry as the former South Lions collegiate product here in London.
Unfortunately, you've got a man down here for the Beefeaters as well. But yeah, really good run on the inside on that by...
I believe that's Dyer, to be honest with you.
That's L.J. Dyer. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, that's L.J. Dyer that's unfortunately down here.
And we have not seen Taz Van Bell in this game, despite the fact that last week in that Hamilton Hurricanes victory, Taz Van Bell carried the ball on 9 occasions for 132 yards.
Yeah, and it really was a difference maker in the game. But again, don't know what's happening in practice, don't know what's going on, what the game plan is. But, good to see LJ walking up under his own power.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's going to be massive. Now, second down and about 7 here after the gain of 3. You got to put it in Chambers' hand, or I think more importantly, I think it's going to go on Ethan Chambers' legs on this particular play.
Although I'll say that bootleg play, if you will, that they've been using off of the power, which had gathered Ethan Chambers 4 rushing touchdowns so far here in 2022, seems to have been sniffed out. I don't know, in video scouting or what have you by the Sooners. That 7-hour bus trip, no bus legs here on this play. As Chambers forced out of the pocket, he's going to be mauled down by 3 different Sooners, leading the charge as Richard Graham. Cowboy up, boy.
Yeah, I think they're trying to set up a screen, and Ottawa's having nothing to do with it here.
Well, Chambers and the Beefeaters go a country mile in the wrong direction to bring up, second and just that with 9.5 to go.
So, great job for Ottawa flipping the field.
And I apologize, that brings up third down, so naturally A.J. Williamson's going to have to come out here.
So Ottawa's really taken, control of this game since the start of the second quarter here, I kind of feel, John. The last 4 minutes has really, Ottawa's really dictated their space, their tempo on this game. And that turnover, unfortunately, it was a pick six, but you just kind of felt it coming.
This one caught around the 48-yard line. Coming back the other way is Inik Enyeka. Enyeka finding the edge will scamper out of bounds around the 47, make that the 46-yard line. A decent return for him, and the Sooners find themselves already in Beefeaters territory.
Kyle Che does a great job on this, number 14 for the Beefeaters, of maintaining outside leverage on this. I thought he was going to get taken inside on this. Look at how he is there, and look at how he's tracking all the way across here. Understands it. I thought right here he was in trouble, but does a really good job of understanding, forcing him to the outside lines and forcing him out of bounds. That's great coverage downfield by the Beefeaters special teams.
The Sooners are fortunate to have 6 points on the board despite the missed PAT, thanks to a pick six by Christian Fidel. I will say, though, for the Sooners, this isn't something new. In that upset victory, the 28-21 win over Hamilton in Week 3, there was no bigger of a play than the 85-yard fumble return touchdown by Quentin Hodgins. So this Sooners defense knows how to create points, even though their offense maybe not so much here in Week 7. Cohen fires it, deflects off the fingertips of the receiver. And I said this about Ethan Chambers earlier. Maybe the same sentiment goes to Owen Cohen as you look at the passing numbers and you go, okay, kind of bland, not too exciting. But then you see how they're going right off the chest, the numbers, the face masks, the hands of these receivers, including Anthony Kolekchik there. I mean, you kind of go back and go, that's not really the quarterback's problem.
Well, unfortunately, the receiver on this.
And sorry, it was Devin Casenda on that last opportunity, and Casenda's banged up.
Yeah, he actually, you're not going to really see it. You can see it right there. He just reached his hand up for it, and I think the ball bent his finger back or something, but he reached for it right away there, and it's like,
Cowboy fans know all about bent fingers and stuff like that this season.
Hey, Bruno, how are you?
8:34 remains before the halftime break. Remember, these two teams played each other in Week 1 of competition in our nation's capital. That was a 42-14 victory. Beefeaters had 261 rushing yards in that game, and their defense forced 6 turnovers. But it's a pick six, leading the Sooners into a 7-6 deficit now. Cohen, once again, forced off the carpet. Now that ball was rolling out of his breadbasket, if you will, as he went down, but didn't really come out until he hit the turf.
No, he was definitely down.
That ball was rolling.
Okay, right off the edge, number 10, Wolf Sims flushes them out there. Great penetration on there. Again, another low snap for the quarterback.
Yeah,
John. It's been the story.
You're putting your quarterback behind the 8 ball already. Now, so far, Mitchell Christie was the starting center. Jet Hudson, number 69, is the backup center for the Sooners.
So, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but that's something you got to fix. That's not a maybe. That is a must.
And you got guys like Dylan Clark, who's coming off of an 8-tackle, 2-knockdown, and fumble recovery performance, eager to get to that quarterback. As Gerard Musavelli make you miss, and then he got the punt away. This kid's awesome. Twice he's made the Beefeaters look foolish. Cardona back around his 10-yard line, spinning around like a bottle top. Can't get loose, and the Sooners knock him down around the 20. But can we go back to Gerard Musavelli? I'm hoping I'm getting that name right, partner, because twice. He did it twice. It's so nice. And that last one was even, I don't think I've seen a punter go, Olay, and then get the punt away.
If he tries to punt this ball away, it is absolutely blocked. Coming right off the edge there. I think it was number 22, coming right at the top of the screen. If he tries to kick that ball, that is going to be picked up and returned all the way.
What's that, the running of the bulls in Spain? I mean, you're just like, whoop, get out of my way.
There you go. So, again, great heads-up play by a kicker, producer Adam.
Well, I would say, the Sooners jump and
they crossed.
So they're going to get a free 5 yards here out of the London Beefeaters with 7:02 remaining before the halftime break. They have a 1-point lead. LJ Dyer got him that lone touchdown so far with 4:02 remaining in the first quarter. It was a pick six, though, by the Sooners with 10:52 remaining in this quarter by Christian Fidale. The PAT was botched. But, unfortunately, it wasn't the fault of the kicker, despite the fact that he ran 55 yards back in a kind of a hilarity-type play on that PAT. However, we've seen him 2 punt attempts really be the difference maker so far in this first half.
And a high snap.
Chambers rolling back to get it. Great job to keep it out of the Sooners' claws. As eager to go back for it was Yuri Jean-Baptiste, the defensive lineman at 6 foot, just split through it and went right after the pigskin. If it wasn't for Chambers sliding down on it, that would have been Sooners' ball.
Yeah, again,
Watch Jean-Baptiste right there. It was so close to getting it.
Absolutely. Wow. That ball was like 10 yards over his head. Ethan Chambers is a really athletic play just to keep the ball out of the end zone on that, John.
Been a bit of a rough quarter, though, for Ethan Chambers. And for Owen Cohen, for that matter. Not an easy quarterback to be, quarter to be a quarterback. Chambers, after the pump fake, he's going to go for a run, and he's got the first down and a little more. He stays in bounds. He got hammered out here at the 48-yard line. In fact, he gave a lick to a defensive player, and I believe the Sooners a bit banged up, and Daheem Jonas got the cold shoulder by the quarterback of all people coming across midfield. First down and a handful of yards more.
Great job of understanding man coverage across the board, and good job blocking downfield.
Well, the only thing I'll point out, though, is earlier in that play, you're right, though, Jonas did get blocked, but Chambers had already ran past the line of scrimmage, and Jonas was still trying to go into pass protection, so that kind of opened up that opportunity for EC2, if you will, or EC8, I guess he's this season. He wore number 2 in his high school days. As we get a run play here. Now, remember, LJ Dyer was banged up last drive.
Dyer's back in there. That's LJ Dyer back in with the ball carry on that, John.
There was a Beefeater down for just a moment, and especially after Dyer was down last, you kind of hold your breath, but Nolan Weckham, one of the offensive linemen in Matt Snyder's crew, helps that play out to 9 yards. It'll bring up 2nd and shy.
So, again, really good job. Just that power play over the right-hand side. Beefeaters getting physical at the point of attack.
Chambers came into this game 31 of 82 passing, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he's thrown his 4th interception. And as a result, I think Matt Snyder's wise to just keep it on the ground. They only needed a yard. They got 3 and moved the chains. Flags fly at the end of this play.
The rush was absolutely enormous from Ottawa, and the linebacker was there. The only guy that could make the tackle did. I'm telling you, because if he doesn't, he's going to be off to the races there. Everyone outran that play on the defensive front.
So it should have been a first down, but the stick game stays there. There's 2 penalties on this play.
Yeah, unnecessary roughness against both teams.
So as a result, shouldn't just the 3-yard run stand then?
Replay the down. Oh, no, they are going, So
they would cancel each other out. That's right. So the ball goes up to the Sooners' 50-yard line. It'll bring up a 1st and 10 now for the Beefeaters. There's 5:06 remaining here. Coming into this game, the Beefeaters had 18 touchdowns. That LJ Dyer run in the first quarter now makes it 19, partner, and they had 87 first downs. Although out of the 1,513 yards they've gotten offensively, they've given up 1,499 to their opponents. Chambers, empty backfield, gonna huck this one deep, and again, just extending that play. Chambers overthrowing Mitchell Spence for a 3rd time in this game.
Yes, they're trying to hit that deep pass with Spence, and again, what we thought was the wind earlier, the wind's kind of disappeared now, John, so the ball's going to float a little bit.
Can I just say this, though, too? If you throw an interception, does that play in your mind later in the game going, okay, I'd rather overthrow this ball than underthrow this ball, because an underthrown ball in that situation is probably getting picked off, too.
Ethan's played quarterback long enough. I think he's the type of kid that, that last play is over and done with. Move on to the next one. 2
weapons, run to the line, 3 to the left side. It's a screen play, caught by LJ Dyer. He's got some blocks in front of him. LJ Dyer rumbling through some seams up to the 35-yard line. First down, Beefeaters.
Yeah, I was expecting that play a little bit earlier, and they were trying to run it before.
That's when Chambers was sacked.
Yes, when Chambers was sacked, but there's that screen play. It's another staple of the Matt Schneider offense.
So they put it up to the 34-yard line. It'll be a gain of 16 yards on that screen.
Good gain on that play. Let's see them carry the momentum over for the
glancing over at the Beefeaters bench, Tazvang Bell, helmet off, hand on his hip. No encouragement of him coming into this game today. Two weapons to the right side. Chambers going to hand this one off. He hangs onto it. He fooled me. He takes a bit of a low hit. I hope he's okay after that one. But he'll move the chains.
Bounce right back up here. Great fake. You and I both thought he saw it. The only reason I saw the ball flash all of a sudden away from the screen right there, and it was kind of like, oh, shoot, he kept that. But we both thought Ethan handed that ball off.
And with 3:35 remaining before the halftime break, the Beefeaters start knocking down on the red zone as you see Tazvang Bell on the sidelines there. And again, when you're talking about a guy that would have come into this game with 494 rushing yards on 70 attempts at 7 yards per carry. Kind of curious to see him just stapled to the bench. Same play as last time, but Chambers can't free himself. Not biting was the same guy that picked him off for the touchdown earlier. Christian Fidale. Have yourself a first half defensively. He's been all over Ethan Chambers like, wait on a new Beefeater uniform.
Yeah, again, they're just trying to do that pull, but the ends are crashing down so much. But that time the linebacker stunted and flexed across, so it was a really good, smart defensive play there by the Sooners.
Hard to believe that a missed PAT after a Christian Fidale pick six with 10:52 remaining in this quarter is the difference so far between the number 6 team and the number 7 team, both rocking 4-2 records coming into today's game.
3-minute warning as well, John.
So Chambers has Cardona behind him. The officials blow in this play, maybe a bit of an audible as Chambers barks out his line, takes the snap, does hand this one off to Cardona. Cardona freed off to the left side, breaks off of 2 or 3 tackles. He's got the touchdown according to the officials, but more flags than a UN meeting back at the original line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a illegal cut block or a hold or maybe a little bit of both happening. Because there's 2 different flags on this, both of them on the offensive line. Now it's not a cut. He just slipped. He was able to block him.
It negates the diving effort at the end of that play by Cardona. What an effort by number 32. However, this one's going against the Beefeaters, folks, and much to the chagrin of the citywide faithful when you think most of the crowd was cheering after that touchdown was called.
Yeah, so you've got the hold against the Beefeaters, which I believe was the point of attack. And then you had unsportsmanlike conduct, unnecessary roughness against the Beefeaters as well. So you're going to take the 15-yard penalty, or do they add them both together? They are adding them both together. So that is a 25-yard penalty for the Beefeaters, John.
So you go from being within the red zone to thinking you have a touchdown to now being third and my drive home back to the farm, which is about 3.5 hours, folks.
Yep, that's about what you've got. And as a former offensive coach, John, I don't have a lot of 3rd and 35 plays.
Oh, hook and ladder. Come on now. Fumble-rooski. You can do a whole bunch of things right here. Chambers is going to go to the air. He's already been picked off once in this game. I thought he was actually going to go for a run, and instead, maybe that half run, half pump fake confused even his receiver, as it looks like Connor Marsh couldn't bring that one in.
Yeah, you got to squeeze that ball. That's right in the numbers again here. That's a couple of drops from the receivers for the Beefeaters.
Well, I asked you this at the beginning of our broadcast. 31 of 82 is not appealing when it comes to passing the ball around, although he does have 378 yards and 2 passing touchdowns as Ethan Chambers coming into this game. But you look at the 51 drop balls, You go, wait a minute, is this really the quarterback's problem? As A.J. Williamson is going to attempt a 49-yard field goal here with 2:38 remaining. The kick is up. It's got plenty of leg, and it is good. From 49 yards out, the Beefeaters now have a 10-6 lead.
That's not only good from 49, that's good from another 5 or 6 back. He would have made that from midfield, I think, John. Tremendous kick on that. We knew A.J. Williams was a weapon for the Beefeaters, but 49 yards in a game situation,
That's
impressive.
He was 11 of 15 coming into this game. That's just 73%. And when you add the fact that out of that being 11 of 15, he's 1 of 5 from 40-plus yards coming into this contest. He made 49 yards look easy.
So here's an interesting thing. The Beefeaters just kicked a 49-yard field goal. The ball will be moved back now, and Ottawa will scrimmage from the 35.
At their request, correct?
At their request, yes, sir.
So the Sooners now trailed by 4 points here on the road with a 4-2 record. Remember, they had a 4-game winning streak snapped by St. Clair last week, as Cohen's going to hand this off, and it looks like Wilson's going to gain about 3 or 4 yards. Oh, check that, about 5 yards on the ground for Wilson. Again, Wilson's their main running back, and coming into this game, 259 yards on 54 carries and 4 rushing touchdowns for that gentleman.
Yeah, and again, all this is a counter play. So you fake everything going to the one way, and then it's almost like a cross in the backfield.
How much gambling do you do here if you're Coach Ling and the Sooners, knowing that your offense hasn't even gotten you points this half, and you're at midfield, you just got the Beefeaters to jump, you got a free play right now. So they do take a shot deep. Active defense. It got tipped by one Beefeater and Jordan Wright, intercepted by Connor Winrow. But guess what? Despite Winrow potentially bringing this all the way back, he stutter steps at midfield and he'll eventually be tackled at the 10. This is coming all the way back.
It's not only coming all the way back, it's moving all the way up as you got pass interference on this on top of it. You got the Beefeaters to jump, so there's the free play. It would have been a free 5 yards, but then you got the PI downfield.
Man, I mentioned earlier about Coach Ling's crystal ball, and man, oh man, it appears yet again. How in the world, if they finally take their shot after they got the Beefs to jump, and like you said, if they get called on this pass interference, they potentially just picked up 15-plus yards.
Yep. So it's pass interference against the Beefeaters. That's the one that they're going to move. So it's going to move up 15 yards, and it's going to be the first down. But I thought that they pointed the offside against the Sooners at first.
So the only thing I can think of that doesn't help you if you're an Ottawa Sooners fan, though, is that your kicker, Gerard Musavali, would have to technically go into the gust. Remember, A.J. Williamson just hit a 49-yarder, but that was kind of with the gust at his back shoulder, whereas the Sooners kicker, if they were to get into field goal range in the next minute and 51 seconds, will have the elements against him.
So yeah, they declined the offside. They took the pass interference and moved it up 10 yards.
Defensive pass interference called against the Beefeaters.
10-yard difference.
And again, we haven't seen a lot of Mark Webb, the wide receiver with 2 receiving touchdowns and 276 yards. We also haven't seen a lot of Nathan Coleman. He's got a receiving touchdown this season and 206 yards. Cohen, maybe trying to find one of them right now. Double pump faking on the third time he throws it down the field. Missing the intended target, though, this time, in Noah Avery.
Good coverage downfield. Flag on the far side of the field as well, John.
So, again, here I am thinking he's got to go to Webb. He's got to go to Coleman. But, again, he's been targeting Shamar Starrett and Avery predominantly here in the first half.
Maybe it's something that they see on film. Maybe it's a matchup thing. I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest with you.
Put yourself in Coach Ling's position right now, though, with 1:44 left. What are you trying to do with your team down by 4? And knowing that London also won the coin toss, deferred, so London's going to get the ball to start the second half.
So the flag was against Ottawa, so now that changes what I would have said.
That was just because that changes the dynamic up a little bit.
Yeah, so you haven't had a lot of success breaking that pass. You're rolling. The Beefeaters are allowing your quarterback to gain some yards, but they're not letting him get downfield. So he's not turning the corner or anything else. Maybe a draw or something like that, or something quick. I like the screen game a lot, but
you got their number 1 rusher, Wilson, right behind the quarterback in Owen Cohen. Cohen's got 3 targets running the line. Pressure coming from the Beefeaters, trying to pirouette his way out of the pocket. He does, but then it's intercepted. Beefeaters get the ball back. I believe that's Trent Ingram on the interception.
Szymanski actually with the interception. So, again, Good pressure coming from the starting 3, and now they're bringing the 2 extras, so they're bringing 5. Steps up, spun around, get the ball downfield. Look at that. Great job of stepping right in front of your guy.
And it is Powell Szymanski, to your point, partner, with the INT. And tough break for Owen Cohen because that was a marvelous job escaping danger, but unfortunately he threw the ball away.
Now, if you're the Beefeaters, if I can play Coach Snyder, you got
ball 96 seconds.
96 seconds. I like taking a shot right now.
So Chambers, empty backfield. Do they take that shot? Instead, it's an attempted screen play to Dyer. That worked earlier in this quarter for 15 yards. Chambers overthrew the intended target.
Yeah, unfortunate on that one because I think you had something going on this. You would have had the blockers out front of him too, and there would have been a lot of real estate. It would have been a big gain on that. But I'm not surprised to see some type of pass play coming out of that for a sudden change type of offense.
So now 91 seconds remains before the halftime break. A battle of 4 and 2 teams here in the Ontario Football Conference Week 7 of action, or the CGFL Week 10, depending on your perspective of football. Chambers, play action, throws this, handling on the bit of a bobble, still reeling it in is Mitchell Spence. Spence has the first down and more, finds the edge, and scampers out of bounds around the 30-yard line. That'll be a gain of 25 yards.
Smart heads-up play, getting out of bounds after this. Juggles the ball a little bit. I thought there was a chance of being another drop, but this is a really good job. Turning it. Good job not engaging downfield.
What do they call that? A carpet block when Joe Brennan just put his hands up?
Pedestrian block, yeah.
It's not me. I'm not in your way. Don't ignore me.
Yeah.
I'm not here.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
I'm just going to tiptoe out of your way now. As Chambers has 2 swag to the line. They're sweeping this ball in the R through Nigel Morris. Morris trying to find the edge in front of the Beefeaters bench. He'll take a licking, though, on this play. And he has had such an active first half. Christian Fidel, I can have a handful of memorable tackles, a pick 6, and a booming tackle on the quarterback for a sack. Not a bad first half for Christian Fidel.
Yeah, I'd be really, really impressed with the speed sideline to sideline for Ottawa here. So maybe that's one of the things that they're,
Well, you give up 42 points to this team at home in Week 1. You go on the road in Week 6, and you've held them to just 10 so far in this first half.
You've definitely improved.
Chambers to LJ Dyer. Dyer can't find the A-gap, though, as it closed up in black and orange.
Yeah, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide on that particular play. Good penetration. Here comes the linebacker. Just takes it right away.
Now, 3rd and short. You've already had A.J. Williamson nail a 49-yarder. Do you send him back out here, or do you go for it?
I'm going to kick it.
I think they are because the holder in Pinto went out, though. However,
but he's also the short yardage quarterback.
I was just going to say you don't know because he also comes in bizarre situations for Matt Schneider. I believe the Beefeaters are going to call a timeout here regardless.
Yeah, but they want to run some clock off of it. So they're going to run about 15, 18 seconds
So
off.
what, Pinto goes into this just to throw up a T and then go back to the sidelines? That's cruel.
And they're going to discuss it. Now, here's why I'm kicking the field goal, because the field goal puts it at 13-6.
Yeah, you get 7-point lead.
Yeah, you get your touchdown lead back here. So this is exactly what's happening.
Math was never my strong suit there for Werda, but I will say this. I would kick the field goal here and be up by a major.
That's exactly, I believe, what they're going to do. No, they're going their short yardage unit here. They're going to go after the 2 yards here.
So timeout taken by the Beefeaters. And after coming off of a big 16-15 walk-off Rouge victory last week in Hamilton at Tim Hortons Field, the Beefeaters
field goal.
Are going to be conservative and send out the field goal. You're always trying to get me going thinking that they're, trying to gamble and gamble. It will be a 29-yard field goal, a chip shot compared to the 49-yarder he's already made in this game. The kick is away. And man, oh man, I feel like he could make it from 60 yards today, Ron.
Yeah, he's got his leg is humming today. I'm telling you that. This is a great kick off the right hash, right into his wheelhouse. Good snap, good hold, booming kick. Yeah, that clears the end zone. So add another 15 yards onto that. That was a 35-yarder. That's like a 50-yard field goal, like with his eyes closed.
Beefeaters have no offense to show of, though, in the second quarter of play. 2 field goals from A.J. Williamson, one from 49 yards out and, well, just less than 2 minutes later from 29 yards out to make it a 13-6 game. The only lone score in this quarter was that Christian Fidel pick six back with 10:52 remaining in the quarter. You got to go all the way back to 4:02 in the first quarter. That's when the Beefeaters found the board for the first time with their lone major offensively.
Yeah, and it's been a really tight-to-the-vest type of game, you know.
Almost a playoff type game, Ron.
Yeah, it's got that kind of feel in the air and on the field here today, John.
The quarterback in the pro set has two run to the line. A bit of a low snap handled by the QB. He's going to get ripped down to the ground by Dylan Clark. Your OFC Defensive Player of the Week for a very reason.
Yeah, just coming right off the edge there. The snap is not doing this quarterback any favor. He does a really athletic job keeping this ball in play here. And Dylan Clark, nowhere to go, throws him down to the 29.
In that first encounter between these two teams in 2022, the Belleville native Dylan Clark recorded 5 solo tackles, a sack. He knocked down a pass and blocked a field goal at one point to keep Ottawa at bay. So brings up second and a country mile. Empty backfield for Owen Cohen. Going to rip this one over to the left side. Caught by Wilson. Wilson, though, smothered immediately by Zach Hepburn.
Yeah, Zach Chico Hepburn. Love that kid. The graduate out of Lucas High School in London. Former Junior Mustang, former Forest City Thunderbird.
Now,
kid I've had the pleasure coaching with a number of years.
You need a healthy punt here from Jared Valley when you consider that you're only down by 7. There's 17 seconds left, though. So a decent kick return, dare I say, by the Beefeaters right now potentially puts A.J. Williamson back in field goal range to add more points and make it a 2-possession lead.
The Sooners haven't exactly been getting huge yards on their punts. He's got great hang time, but it's only traveling about 25, 35 yards.
Yeah, so far this season, coming into this game, I should say, he had 16 punts for 477 yards. To your point, Ron, that's an average of 29.8 yards per punt.
Yep.
So you have Cardona and McKenzie back around the Beefeaters' 45-yard line.
And you get a 10-yard return here, okay, and you're going to have 17 seconds left with a timeout. You got enough time to run a play or two and get your field goal unit out.
So it looks like
the Canadian game. So are they going to...
Timeout taken by the Sooners. They're going to want to talk this one over, probably because of what you were just suggesting there, Ron, knowing that this has to go down perfectly, or they're opening up the door of opportunity for the home team to put more points on the board before halftime.
I'm surprised Ottawa took the timeout, though. I would have run the clock and forced the Beefeaters to take that timeout.
Well, the play hadn't been whistled in yet, though, to that point, partner. They were stuck at 17.
Yeah, but you can start the clock.
Hey, folks, stick around at halftime.
Not after a timeout was taken, though, by the Beefs.
No, but the Beefeaters didn't take the timeout there.
Previous play. Then the Sooners took theirs. My point is the clock was frozen. That's
okay.
I'm just trying to tell you that the clock was never going to move.
Do the Beefeaters have a timeout left?
One timeout, I believe. The Beefeaters have one timeout left.
Yeah, okay.
So with 17 seconds left on the board, it doesn't negate the point, though, that Gerard has to have an incredible punt here. And if you're the Beefeaters, are you trying to block this thing right here?
Sure, every time.
Well, not a lot of distance on this kick. It's going to ricochet off the ground. The Sooners are going to try and give some real estate. In fact, the flag goes flying. There's now 5 seconds. Make that 4, 3. Well, the clock stops at 3 here at Citywide.
So now you're going to move it up 5 yards. So I think you're going to have the field goal unit come right out here and try the field goal. That's my gut. You're going to have 5-yard, no yards call. So the ball's going to be placed about the 35. That's going to be about a 42-yard field goal.
A.J. Williamson came into this game 11 of 15. That's 73% on field goals, but he was 1 of 4 from 40-plus yards out. He's 2 of 2 in this game, hitting a 49-yarder and a 29-yarder so far in this contest. And he is out there right now in that white uniform. I believe he's going to attempt number 3 today.
Yeah, this is no question. This is exactly what the strategy was. So, hey, this is what I was saying. You need 10 yards on that return. Get the ball to about the 40-yard line.
He's hit a 49-yarder. He's hit a 29-yarder. This would be a 41-yard attempt, trying to go 3 for 3 in the first half of football. The kick is away, and this one is also good. as the clock expires. Now the Ottawa Sooners defense is trying to get the officials' attention about something. What could they possibly be confronting about?
Hall of Fame ceremony.
Okay.
Oh, they didn't think he made the kick, I guess.
No, that's why they're saying get it out, get it out, get it out. But no, they definitely they called the kick good. So again, 16 to 6 now, halftime score. I'm telling you, kids, if you're a kicker in Canada, you are revered as a god, or should be, because kickers in the Canadian game are people too.
I'll give a big shout out to former Western Mustang Mark Leggio, who's the current kicker and punter for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, doing a great job. He was kind of in that backup role last year for the Grey Cup team. He's taking that starter role by the throat, and he's not letting go of it. Now we'll go quickly to the Nicholas Group box score before the halftime break. The London Beefeaters started up the scoring with 4:02 remaining in the first quarter. It was L.J. Dyer with a 2-yard run. Ron, that really capped off an incredible first quarter by L.J.
Yeah, really a great first quarter. It was the L.J. Dyer show in the first half, where the bulk of his yards that he gained in the first half was there.
So we get into the second quarter of action, and it was the Ottawa Sooners defense putting some points on the board. Christian Fidale with a pick 6 on Ethan Chambers, 50-plus yards the other way, although the PAT was missed to make it a 7-6 game. But really, if it wasn't for the Sooners defense putting up some offense, they'd be in a different position right now.
Yeah, and like I kind of said in this game, I said the first 6 minutes of the second quarter really felt like Ottawa kind of taking control, and then that interception.
Not one, not two, but 3 field goals by A.J. Williamson rounded out to the halftime break. A 49-yarder, a 29-yarder, and a 41-yarder, and he made them all look easy.
Yeah, these field goals are good, like from 55, 56 yards. Every one of them is good from these distances. This kid's got an incredible leg.
So for Ron Forward, I'm Jonathan Urbanowicz. It is a 16-6 game at the halftime between the number 6 team, the visiting Ottawa Sooners, and the number 17, the London Beefeaters. Only one team can get their 5th win in the OFC regular season here in Week 7. Tune in to the second half to find out who.
That was the conversation, right, Bob? Yeah, okay. And so he came over, and that may have happened over an adult beverage or two, and possibly out of the back of a van. But those are the legends that, if you want to ask about, there's Eric Crofts, there's Alistair Bruff, there's Ron Almeida. We'll talk about him in a second. Doug Block Hansen. There's a bunch of Beefeaters here that will tell you stories of this man and why they're the people they are today. And it is because of his instillment of work ethic, hard play, fairness, and a love for the game. I've thrown the script away by now. Sorry. I disliked Bob for all of a day, and that was because he was coaching at Montcalm and I was playing at Laurier, and we had a guy ran for 440 yards and 4 touchdowns, and we ended up tied because he decided to not be Bob that day and fill the air with footballs, and he threw all over us, and he was leading. And we had to hit a field goal to tie on the last game of the play. It was possibly the best game I've ever been involved with. And it was because of him, because he went against he knew what we knew, that he knew what we knew, and then he changed. And we hated him for that day for it. And then after that, it's like, Bob, one of the best coaching jobs ever was that year for you for Montcalm, because you took a bunch of guys that weren't the biggest, strongest, fastest, but you turned them into the hardest working, smartest team, and they could play with anyone. And that's what he did for the Beefeaters. So, ladies and gentlemen, first entry into the Hall of Fame, and you don't have to talk unless you want to, Bob. Bob Gooder, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Gooder. All right. Now, this one I'm going to read a little bit of. The only thing with a longer association with the Beefeaters than Jim Stevenson, come on out, Jim, is the logo that was designed in 1975. So one of Jim's best good friends, Bob Gooder, says to Jim, he says, "Hey, do you mind helping me out for a little while?" And Jim said, "Okay." And 42 years later, he's still the director of alumni affairs. So helping out for a little bit is what Jim does. Jim was my coach in junior football in grade 9 and 10 at Laurier. And we actually met again on Friday at a junior football game at Laurier. And people still come up and go, "Hi, sir," out of the respect for this gentleman. Again, love for the sport, teamwork, and don't be a jerk. It's still something I work on every day. But those were the things that Jim tried to help us that he instilled into his players. Now, little known fact. In 1981, Bob again asked Jim to help out with the conference, and he became the conference statistician, something he finally gave up. Jim has been the statistician for the CJFL, the Canadian Junior Football League, the whole thing, the OFC, various conferences, and he also set up and taught everybody how to do it right. So all the record books and everything that are on our website, londonbeefeaters.org, and the CJFL, this guy right here, he has organized us and organized the whole league and been the voice of reason and the voice of, are you sure that's a good idea, David? But I digress. He was a teacher, and he retired from teaching in 2000 and immediately joined our board as the director of alumni affairs. And he's organized us, sends out a great newsletter. If you're not on it and you are an ex-player, go to our website, fill out the form, and get on it. It's hilarious. It keeps people together, and it grows the group, and that's what we're trying to do here as a club. And it all starts with Jim Stevenson. So our second member of the Hall of Fame as a builder, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Stevenson. All right, I'm jumping ahead. I'm going to do a modern player. So this is the modern era player, and this is the first guy that came out of everybody's mouth. And it's crazy because he's a kicker. And it ain't me, thank God. Okay? Zach began his career with the London Beefeaters in 2009. His performance with us earned him an opportunity at the University of Montreal, where he went and played in 2010 and 11. And it was funny. I showed up, and we were kicking weird field goals from the sidelines, and he hit everything. Come on out, Zach. He hit everything. He was so impressive, and I'm like, wow, this kid's going to be good. So he came back in 2012 to the Beefeaters, and he was one of the reasons why we won our first ever Ontario championship, was this guy winning a game on the last second with what is now the longest field goal in Beefeater history, right, was this guy. And they told me about it, and I said, wait, what now? But it was an amazing, amazing kick when you go back and watch the film. So then, from where does he go from here? Well, then he goes to Western, and he does okay there. And then it was Ottawa first, Edmonton first, so he goes on to the next level, plays for the Eskimos, played for the Argos, played for the Red Blacks, and there's a couple things that you got on there. He's got his Beefeaters 2012, and that's a Grey Cup ring. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Zach Medeiros, our first modern era player, and one of the best kickers I've seen, and also one of the nicest guys, because kickers, there's a brotherhood. Am I right? A fraternity. There, that sounds better. And he will help. If somebody says, Zach, who do I talk to? You will help them out. You'll guide them, as Daryl Wheeler and Liram Hiralahu and all these guys that have gone on and played excellent football, they help everyone get better, because that's what they're about. So, Zach Medeiros, welcome to the Hall of Fame. All right. Now we're in the classic era, and these guys are the ones, they're the legends of our club. Rod Arquette. Rod Arquette played 1 year with the Beefeaters, but that year he was our star defensive player. He joined the team in 1983, immediately established as perhaps the greatest defensive player all time with the Beefeaters. He earned a record that still stands, 267 defensive points in the 10-game regular season. That's 26 points a game. Last week, I think Dylan Clark scored 21 points. He had like 12 tackles, 3 sacks, blocked a kick, cooked 3 hot dogs at halftime. Like, he did everything. And he got 21 points. Rod Arquette averaged 26.7 points a game. It's insane. Insane. He holds the Beefeater record for most points in a single game, 48. That's third in the CJFL. His total of 91 tackles is another season record in the CJFL. 15 tackles on August 20th established the Beefeater team record in the category and is top 10 all-time in the CJFL. And not surprisingly, he was named an OFC All-Star, OFC Defensive Player of the Year, and then at the National Championship game that year, he was honored as Outstanding Defensive Player in the CJFL and remains to this day the only Beefeater to receive this award. Rod Arquette lives in Port Huron, where he runs a successful plumbing company. Ladies and gentlemen, Rod Arquette. Now, he's running a plumbing company in Port Huron, and he didn't want to get vaccinated. No, I just made that up. So, now, I saved the best to last. Okay, stellar high school career, multi-sport athlete, and all-around good guy. Held the, like, the guys wanted to be him, the girls wanted to sleep with him, okay? Like, he's like James Bond. Probably still to this day. So he, sorry, Ron. So it's funny, when he joined Coach Gooder and the Beefeaters, something happened. The Beefeaters started getting better. In his first year in the OFC, at that time, an 11-team conference, Ron was named Rookie of the Year and Conference All-Star Receiver. The next year, All-Star Receiver, led the league in scoring with the team record 109 points and had 45 catches that year. In his final season, 1982, he was named the Offensive Player of the Year in the entire CJFL, the Offensive Player of the Year in the OFC All-Star Receiver, again led the league in scoring with 104 points and receptions with 48. He's the only London Beefeater to be honored as a CJFL Outstanding Offensive Player. He continues to live in London, is surrounded by many, many friends. And we, as the Beefeaters, think so highly of this guy. We decided, we had a board meeting when things are starting to turn around for the Beefeaters. It's like, how can we start to honor our past? So our Outstanding Offensive Player of the Year trophy for the team is named after Ron Almeida, and I can't think of anybody better. Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely in town now, he's going to go, after he leaves here, he's going to go run a triathlon and do like 10K on his paddleboard and play a softball game in the national championships. And then he might have a beer. But Ron Almeida, ladies and gentlemen, again, the first class of the London Beefeaters Hall of Fame. So, I just want to say, we are going to do this next year again. And if you have a thought, if you're an old school Beefeater, please approach us through our alumni page and say, I think this guy should be in. Because we love to hear the stories, and everybody, and the stories shared are things that are never forgotten. And that's what a Hall of Fame is about. So thank you for coming today and helping out to recognize these players and these builders, and we love them all. So thank you very much.
And that was PA announcer Dave Woody doing the Hall of Fame inductions for the London Beefeaters here at halftime, and what is a 16-6 doozy between the number 7 team in the nation, your host London Beefeaters, and the number 6 team in the nation from the capital of our nation in the Ottawa Sooners. So great for them to actually, observe history and kind of, marking that Hall of Fame. It's sort of the culture building of Matt Schneider in the new Beefeaters era.
Yeah, there was a lot of really great things that were just said at halftime here. Coach Bob Gooder, one of the old school coaches in the London area, great head coach, and probably the best player that I ever saw for the Beefeaters play, Ron Almeida.
I said the moisture was going to stay away till 9 p.m. Well, here we are at,
short kick.
6:30 local time, and there's a bit of a drizzle coming down. Ottawa short kicks this one, but it is recovered by Jonathan Corbett, and as a result, Ethan Chambers and the Beefeaters will start their first drive of the second half around the 47-yard line.
Now, it's interesting to say that Ottawa chose to have the wind in the third quarter, okay? So that's going to maybe become a factor. There's not much of a wind right now. It had died off, but I would be more inclined to take the wind in the fourth quarter.
Remember, though, the Beefeaters had the wind in the second quarter, and as a result, A.J. Williamson from 49, 29, and 41 yards out, 3 for 3 in field goals in just the second quarter alone. A similar play design to what we saw in the entire first half. It's a run right up the middle. Instead, we get more of L.J. Dyer.
Yeah, L.J. Dyer, short gain on the play, just going straight ahead. The Beefeaters are really trying to lean on that defensive front for Ottawa.
I look at Taz Van Bell the same way I see him in the first quarter of this game. Helmet off his head, hips or hands on the hips. I mean, it doesn't look like he's coming back into this game, or coming into this game, I should say, at all.
No, and we don't know if there's an injury or a practice situation or something. As we got
Ottawa
to jump and cause movement, free 5 yards. Now it's a second and short.
Again, the Ottawa Sooners are coming off of a 35-16 loss to the St. Clair Saints at home last week. But that was after, a 4-game winning streak, which included a 33-point victory over the GTA Grizzlies, a 50-point victory over the Quinte Skyhawks, a 7-point nail-biting thriller at Hamilton over the Hurricanes, and they also beat the GTA Grizzlies again in Week 2 by 30 points, 37-7. Second and short for Chambers. He'll march 2 to the line and looks like he's going to hand this one off. Once again, it is Dyer, and once again, he's got the first down. He needed 3 yards. He got 5.
Yeah, good straight-ahead run over the left-hand side there. Just, again, leaning on that. There's that power play, double the pullers coming across, and he just fit the running back right behind it. Old school football, but it's still effective in today's game.
First game of the regular season, Dyer had 2 rushing touchdowns on 7 carries and just 30 rushing yards. And then he had a 105-yard kick return touchdown to start the game, which tied a Beefeaters 39-year club record. Dyer again on the carry, this time to the left side, gains 3 yards the hard way.
Yeah, again, they're really trying to lean on that run game here. Good gain of 3 yards. They're setting them up for that play action. I'm telling you, it's coming. Now, the one thing that I do have to say, the Beefeaters have struggled hanging on to the receiving the ball this year, okay? They've had 89 drops. They've got to correct that. If you got to start looking at this as a playoff game or a potential playoff game or playoff matchup, you've got to get those receptions.
And you're talking about a Sooners defense, though, that has 11 INTs coming into this game, 12 if you include the Fidel pick 6 we saw in the first half of action. Chambers escaping the pressure. He's going to run for this himself in front of the Sooners bench. Looks close to the first down. Yes, not only does he have it, he's got a plus 4 yards after it.
Yeah, great job. He got about 12 yards on the scramble. Again, eyes downfield. This is what I really like about Ethan Chambers as a quarterback. He's very, very athletic. Feels the pressure, escapes it, and is not afraid to go north-south and get the first down.
Got a bit of an update as far as the injury is concerned for an Ottawa Sooner, Devin Kacinda. We saw him at halftime heavily wrapped up on his shoulder. He is not going to return to this game. That's number 88, a key receiver, despite the fact, like I said, I thought they were going to target guys like Coleman and Webb. They've been going after Shamar Scarrett and Noah Avery predominantly in the first half. As a fake to Dyer, Chambers almost fell down, falls over, and it's caught by Nick McKenzie First down, Beefeaters, and that's got to feel good considering the passing game really wasn't there in the first half.
This is exactly what I was talking about getting those easy completions. This is what the run game does. Look at that defense overextend, and you just get Nick McKenzie running free into the secondary on a long crossing route.
I do think back, though, to the first quarter on a play action where Nigel Morris was wide open down the field, and it went off the breadbasket.
Yeah, again, those are the things that we got to fix if this is going to be a championship team.
On the sweep, it is Morris. Morris going in the wrong direction, trying to get to that edge. He'll find the sidelines, but to be honest with you, I don't think he gained a yard here, and there's a flag on the play.
Yeah, there's a flag on the play. I think this is going to go against the Beefeaters, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was offside. I think that the end moved a little bit early. On that, and again, there's that jet motion or that crackdown motion that they have. So, do you take the loss? I think the Ottawa team throws them down for a loss of a couple on that play. They're going to take the down.
Yeah, that they were trying to sweep it through Nigel Morris, but not much of a sweep.
No, not much on the jet sweep. It's more of a fly sweep on that particular one because it's coming from outside more. Again, Nigel Morris has got great speed, but this Ottawa team is really, really fast sideline to sideline there.
The Ottawa Sooners next week will be back in the Belleville, Ontario area at Loyalist College when they take on the Quinte Skyhawks. That's a Sunday, October 2nd game. The Beefeaters round out their regular season live here on Beefs TV next Saturday here at Citywide Sports Park against the Hamilton Hurricanes. As it's LJ Dyer ducking off of one tackle, smothered by a plethora of Sooners in the secondary, but not after gaining about 6 yards. It'll still bring up third down. And I mean, he was 3 for 3 in the first half. It's safe to say A.J. Williamson's going back out there for a fourth field goal attempt.
Yeah, absolutely. He's coming out for another field goal attempt there. And again, just a really good hard run inside there.
Talk about improving your numbers as, again, 11 for 15 coming into this game in the field goal department for Williamson. That's 73%. He's 3 for 3 in this one. That's 14 of 18.
Yeah, and not only has he made those field goals, he's made those field goals with a lot of distance to spare.
And, we'll go off of that adage. Those 3 field goals were to the north end of the end zone. They are now facing the south end of the end zone as there is, unfortunately, a Sooner being attended to by the training staff, beaten up around the 25-yard line.
Yeah, unfortunately, I kind of saw him. He was writhing down there. It looked like a non-contact knee type of thing. Unfortunately, for the young man, I'm just going to leave it at that.
We'll go to the CGFL power rankings quickly, and again, it's the Okanagan Sun shining down at the rest of the nation with a 7-0 record. The Saints, though, nibbling on their toes at the 6-0 record, the number 1 team in the OFC. The Regina Thunder are also the third and only undefeated team in the whole CGFL at a 5-0 record.
Yeah, so, those are the three kind of the three halves, as we like to say.
And to throw this in, you look at the bottom half of the Power 10. Yeah, you got London in there at 7, Ottawa there at 6. Langley, your defending CGFL champions at number 10 with a 4-4 record.
Yeah, 4-4, but that is a dangerous, dangerous team. And lurking out west.
And especially when you have to go up against the 7-0 Okanagan Sun, it's a similar tale to what the Beefeaters have had to do. They're 4-2, but that 2 is from the Saints.
Yeah, so again, we kind of talked at the start of the season how we thought, well, this is kind of where it's heading. It's just who gets the win is going to host the games, as we do see the field goal unit come on here, John.
So 3 for 3 so far in this game. Hit a 41-yarder. A 29-yarder, and a 49-yarder. This one appears to be, about 23-yarder. The kick is up, and it is wide left, so it'll go as a rouge. A missed 23-yard field goal will put up another point and extend this to a 17-6 game.
I was about to say just before he kicked, and I didn't want to, that, this was almost a little bit too close for him the way he's been kicking today. Unfortunate, but he missed it. It's the other hash. So as a right-footed kicker, pushing that ball, if you push it too much, you're going to push the ball right off and you're going to miss it to the right. If you kind of hook it, which he did on that one, You pull the ball over to your left there.
I feel like I jinxed him a bit talking about how he was 3 for 3, but I mentioned how all those came on the north end zone, and this was his first attempt on the south end zone. It goes wide left, but much to the chagrin of Beefeaters fans, this is deja vu all over again. Last week, tied 15 all at Tim Hortons Field against the Hamilton Hurricanes. A.J. Williamson missed a 39-yard field goal, but just like this one, it went out of the back of the end zone, and the Rouge gave him the 1-point victory. The Sooners go back to the offense. They're going to stick to their bread and butter. That's the run game now. Some pushing and shoving after the whistle here. I'm surprised we haven't seen any flags.
Yeah, nowhere to run on that particular play, nowhere to hide. Just met right away at the line of scrimmage. No penetration whatsoever from the offensive line. The defensive line does a good job of negating it. Linebackers clean it up. No gain on the play, John, second down.
That missed field goal turned Rouge is still so crucial, though, Ron, because even if you get a touchdown and a field goal, you're down by a point if you're the Sooners. Now, Owen Cohen completes a pass to his receiver. He tries to cut back against the grain, and he'll move up to the 41-yard line. That's Mark Webb on the reception.
Yeah, good job. He made a couple guys miss here right away as we see the third down. It's just a little sit-down or hitch route. First man miss, second man miss. Just got to gear down a little bit. You're not going to turn it against that entire defense, as Ottawa is going for it on third down here.
It's a third down play. Back to Webb. Webb's right around the line of scrimmage. It depends on forward momentum, and it looks like the official is going to mark it at the 45-yard line.
Boy.
If he does, that is a first down, and the Sooner in Webb, I think, is banged up.
Wow, you know what? I want to see the replay on this because I thought he went back under his own power. He does. He stepped back on his own, and he does not get yards to regain. If this is an NFL game or a CFL game, the challenge flag is out.
Ball's placed at the 45, and the chain gang moves. It's a first down for the Sooners.
Boy, I do not like that call.
They go back to Webb, a guy they didn't really target too much in the first half. He already had 11 catches coming into this game for 276 yards and 2 touchdowns, but after going to the Webb twice, unfortunately, he's down on the turf at the 39-yard line.
You know, just showed the replay. Producer Adam just showed the replay again here. Watch, this ball does not cross it. It doesn't cross it. That is a great spot for Ottawa. He's a yard short on this, I thought. You know, I thought.
Well, they tried to go for it on third down earlier in this game, and it ended up being a massive sack from Powell Szymanski, pushing the ball 15 yards in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Turnover on downs, Beefeaters ball. That was when they were down 7-0. Here they are down 17-6 in the third quarter. Coach Ling gambles. They go back to Webb, and now Webb's under his own accord is going to make it to the sidelines. That's good news for Sooners fans. Again, they already lost one receiver in this game in the first half when Devin Kasenda got hurt.
Yeah, and it's good to see him walking up under his own power there off to the sidelines. But, you know, just going back to
You're still shaking your head on that.
I'm still shaking my head
now,
on that.
The officials don't get all these fancy camera angles you get, Ron.
I thought right away, though, I was like, I don't know about that spot, but.
And the pro set, Owen Cohen goes back to work now with a 1st and 10 for the visiting Sooners. 9:08 remains here in the third quarter of play. They're going to hand this one off, but Wilson has absolutely nowhere to go. It's Dylan Clark in on the tackle.
Yeah, Dylan Clark's having himself a game again. We haven't called his name as much as I kind of thought we would, but when we have, it's been impact play after impact play after impact play. Going forward, it is someone that the offenses must account for. Where is Dylan Clark lining up on that football field? You're going to have to account for him come playoff time.
Ottawa Sooners offense looking for something when you consider the 6 points on the board have come through a pick 6 from Christian Fidale. Out of the pro set, it looks like Ottawa jumped the line too soon, but they're going to let play continue here. It's Cohen trying to get out of the pocket, tackled from behind. Once again, it's Dylan Clark. It's like he's got a magnet for the quarterback, Ron.
He's just scraping across, does a great job. I think they're actually going to call the Beefeaters for being in the neutral zone on that.
Which is interesting because I thought, I call it wagging to the line. Sometimes I call it swagging to the line. I thought the receivers might have gone too many yards down the field before the ball got snapped.
Offside Sooners.
So it was against the Sooners.
And as a result, London actually declines that penalty.
Yeah, you take the third down here, and you're going to force them to convert either a 3rd and 8, which the quarterback is still on the field. So they've kind of drawn their line in the sand at this point, saying, no, we need points.
You'd think you're only down by 11. I would much rather still play the field positioning battle, but you are right. Owen Cohen with now the third down conversion attempt in this game. Blitz coming from Szymanski. He completes the pass to Wilson. Wilson shy of the first down, rumbles up, and he got it. He caught that ball about 8 yards shy of the first down and marched his way past the center point and got the chains moving.
You know, coming down, you just got to throttle down and make that tackle a little bit more, just keep your feet a little bit quieter on that. And
there was a Beefeater there in Connor Crozier that had a chance, but he just get past that tackle.
I'm looking more at the linebacker scraping right across the top here. I think it's number 7 there was the guy that was in the position to get that. That was Ben Regier.
First and 10. The Sooners starting to roll offensively a little bit. They're going to rumble on the ground, attack, and
there's just nothing's been there on the ground for the Sooners all day.
It's Dylan Clark on the tackle
and
again.
They're going hurry up here, so they're trying to get the Beefeaters from making substitutions and personnel decisions here.
And the Beefs do look a little kerfuffled on the defense. Owen Cohen flushed out of the pocket to the right side. Flag on this play, being hunted down by Szymanski. He throws this one out of bounds, and the Beefeaters bench. This is going against the Sooners, isn't it, partner?
Yeah, this is the hold right away. It was the right tackle there. You kind of saw the flag at the end there. I think the Beefeaters are going to take the penalty on this particular one, move them back the 10 yards, force them to convert the longer 2nd and 3rd downs here. That's what I would. That's my call on this. But
well, I kept mentioning, by the way, how L.J. Dyer broke a record, or at least tied a Beefeaters record with that 105-yard kick return in the last game against the Sooners. It wasn't the only record to be broken that game. In the 3rd quarter of the first encounter between these two teams, Clark Road's own Tazvang Bell had a 99-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
He actually finished the game with 142 yards on 12 carries, but that 99-yard surpassed the record. 89 yards set by our buddy Darren Isaac back in 1992.
Yeah, and I was watching the game via live stream from Ottawa. And
procedure against the Sooners.
The Sooners are shooting themselves in the foot. They had a little bit of momentum going there, but it's going back another 5 yards. Anyway, going back to what I was going to say on that was it seemed to be that was the moment that broke it for the Ottawa Sooners. That kind of broke their spirit, and the Beefeaters from that point on really just laid the wood to them.
Well, when they converted on that 3rd down conversion attempt, their 3rd attempt of the game, I should add.
I don't believe that they converted it.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, I mean, officially they did, though, Ron.
Yeah.
As you said, hey, they're drawing that line in the sand. Well, now they're going back over that line on their own accord. They're going to have to punt this ball away unless they get fortuitous yards on this next play.
Well, this is the play that you're looking for, is you just want a screen or a draw to get some of those yards back to make it a manageable 3rd down here.
Well, it's still 3rd and about, we'll say, 16 right now for the Sooners.
Yeah, and they are bringing the punt unit out on this. This is too much for them to
Wilson
overcome.
was trying to make one move, but you'll see it here on the replay. Pal Szymanski was having none of it as he gobbles him up.
He just broke down. It just said, talk about drawing your line in the sand. He just drew the line in the sand at center field and went, nope, he's not crossing center field, and he stopped him a yard short.
The lone point so far in the 3rd quarter of play comes from a 23-yard field goal missed by A.J. Williamson that resulted in a rouge and increased the Beefeaters' lead to 11 points in this 17-6 ball game. 6 minutes remains in the 3rd quarter of play. Gerard Musavali, who's had a heck of a day punting-wise, goes in and boots this one away. In fact, it looked like he was clipped at the end of this play. The ball hangs in the air. They're going to say, sorry, it went out of bounds. Man, the kicker was touched, Ron, at the end of this play, and he's banged up.
Yeah, I don't think that did they throw the flag on it?
No flag on the play. I wonder if we'll see it here on the replay.
It's number 44. The linebacker, Crozier, was the one that actually came through and clipped him.
Unfortunately, we don't catch it here because the ball's already in midair. But what you don't see to the right side of your screen is I think a Beefeater may have rolled into his ankle, inadvertently, mind you, but still, you can't touch the kicker.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Like, they're going over to the referees are going over to the Ottawa bench to discuss things, but
I mean, Ron,
There's no flag down there.
if it wasn't for that gentleman in Jared Musavali's foot in that second quarter specifically, I think this game would have already been blown open. He had two would-be fake punts that he
Yeah.
ended up punting away, and it bewildered a couple Beefeaters on the coverage team.
Bewildered a couple, broadcasters
Yeah,
there as
absolutely.
well. I'm kinda
Especially that Olay play where he
Yeah.
literally dodged the bull.
Yeah.
That was intense.
because I think it was Crozier coming off the edge there as well who would have had the block on that clean. But I'm not 100% sure.
He's done a masterful job, though, of knowing when danger is coming, averting the danger, and then, as a punter, giving himself the runway
Yeah.
needed to make a clean punt.
Yeah, he's played himself a whale of a game.
Ethan Chambers holds down the high snap, fakes it to LJ Dyer. It's Chambers going for a run down the left side. Baseball slides across the 50-yard line. I can think of a certain uncle probably looking down from the skies right now that would be smiling at that play.
Absolutely, he would be. And again, right to the 50-yard line. He needed 10 yards to gain. He got 11.
I remember
got down.
calling games with KJ Kedemy on the radio for Western Mustangs, and there was a quarterback, Chris Merchant. He'd go for runs, and he'd be crash test dummying at the end. You'd be like, KJ would be pleading with him, just slide down and keep yourself safe. That's exactly what Ethan Chambers did there. Ooh, a bit of a confusion on this play. He was trying to hand the ball off to the left. The only problem, Dyer was to his right,
Yeah.
and the Sooners swarm in for the sack.
So, again, loss of 1 on that by the time he pulls it down.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, so a little bit of a miscommunication on that one. That's unfortunate. I think they would have had something going on that. I think he was definitely trying to give that inside zone or that inside power that they like to run. Quick moving quarter too, John.
That's right, considering we've only had 1 point put on the quarter. Sooners nibbled, but they didn't bite on Chambers' fake. Now he'll snap the ball. Pressure coming on Chambers. Steps up out of the pocket, throws this one deep. Trying to dive for it, I think was Nigel Morris. It's incomplete.
That's a great job, athletic job by both the receiver and the quarterback on this to get the ball downfield. As we can see, the pressure's coming right away. They're bringing it, steps up. Ethan's got a chance to run for it there. Does a good job, keeps his eyes downfield. Just can't quite squeeze it all the way in there. Falls incomplete. Punting unit is on for the Beefeaters as we have 4 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the third quarter, John.
Well, and I hate to call a spade, but the Sooners are going to need their offense to do something, anything to get points on the board. They can't just keep relying on their defense to do it.
Great punt.
It goes off the hands of the first kick returner and inadvertently kind of lateraled it back to the second kick returner. That's Shamir Scarrett ends up being tackled.
Oh, I love our producer, Adam, because I was like, man, I hope we got this one. Watch the end of this play. This is a great punt. Slips
Drops it,
through,
picks it up,
flips it
back.
Flips it right back to him. Stay alive, Great heads-up play. I don't know if the returner who got the ball was really expecting him to get the ball on that one, but
Okay, so you got Wilson, let's say, averaging 3 or 4 yards out of the backfield. You really haven't been able to connect with Shamar Scarrett despite trying numerous times so far in this game. Here you are backed up. You got your end zone just behind you. You haven't put up any points offensively in this game. What is Coach Ling drawing up on this drive?
I've said it. I like the screen game. Now you're going 3x2 here and try to get something out to the edge.
Cohen had a man deep, decides to go shallow. It is received by Enek Enyenka. In fact, it was Enyenka that inadvertently lateraled that ball back on that last kick return.
Yeah,
Or punt return, sorry.
And again, so this is just that late crossing route, that lazy crosser. He's coming in from the slot position.
They
There
pick
he
up
comes.
4 yards on the
Yeah,
play.
see how he's just dragging across there. So he motioned in from the Z position all the way across on that shallow. So you've got almost like a double under going on there.
Saw number 83 deeper down the
Yeah.
field cut in, though, and he had open real estate.
Yeah, because the safety was occupied by the back that had come through there, so they had that, but they did have that backside pass.
Drop
They
ball.
dropped the ball.
Owen Cohen picks it up off of the carpet. Now he's going to go run for it. He takes a wallop. The ball does come out at the end. Dylan Clark is down.
He got
now a
absolute-
Beefeater tries to tackle a player at the end of this play. I think Dravin Fiddler Hayes should get at least a penalty, if not ejected, for what he just did at the end there. Dylan Clark is down. And this is not good news if you're a Beefeaters fan. The defending OFC Defensive Player of the Week is down on the field.
He is absolutely blindsided right there. That is the block you cannot do in football. That is the exact block that they called earlier. This is the pedestrian block, blocking back towards your line of scrimmage, to the head, right across the chin. I believe it's number 5 for Ottawa here. Yeah, coming right across
That's
there.
Wilson, yeah.
That's the pedestrian block that they want to get out of football.
So I'll take back
that's an ejection in my books.
Well, what Draven Fiddler Hayes did at the tail end of that play, I thought was objectionable conduct. But to be honest with you, he was kind of doing a Mike Evans on the Buccaneers. He's just defending his teammate.
Yeah, exactly. You're definitely going to get the pedestrian block on that on number 5. I don't know if they're talking to both the teams afterwards.
Now, Clark is up, and it looks like he's going to jog to the sidelines.
Okay, but yeah, it's the injury rule. It's minimum 3 plays. You got to keep an eye on this here.
But he's animated. I can tell he wants back in there, and he wants back in there now.
He wants back in, and he's like, tell me to run over this kid right now. And they're just trying to calm him down a little bit, but that is absolutely, they're trying to check him for a concussion on that.
Well,
why haven't we moved the back down? Like this should be 3rd down, and this ball should be on the 1-yard line.
So far, they have. I mean, it was a 2nd and 6 play before the ball was snapped. The quarterback was flushed out of the pocket. He took a late hit too, mind you. And sometimes you got to protect the QB, but you're right. I mean, the main focus should have been on that blindside hit from Wilson on Dylan Clark. But you're looking at sort of the captains there pointing at each other, thinking, hey, it should go this way. No, it should go that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to gather what the officials are discussing. They're talking to both of them, so they're explaining what's going to happen.
Well, it gives me a quick second to give you a reminder that Beefs TV is back in action next week. Same bat channel, same bat time, Ron Forwarda. A 5 p.m. kickoff here at Citywide Sports Park as they'll take on the Hamilton Hurricanes, a team that they beat by a rouge last week at Tim Hortons Field.
Yeah, really good game. Smart game here. So we have rough play, objectional so we've got the unnecessary roughness calls against both teams and the objectional conduct on that pedestrian blindside block. The ball is moving back 15 yards from the spot.
And it's 3rd down.
It's all after yards. So Ottawa is going to punt the ball now, or do they take do they finally take the safety
But
on
see,
this?
when they were down 7-0, they refused to take the safety. So now they're down by 11 here in the 3rd quarter. I think you're at the point where you don't want to give the Beefeaters any more points if you don't have to.
Okay, but 2 points, 11 points and 13. It's the same can at that point.
That is true. You're still in a 2-possession game no matter what.
You're in a 2-possession game no matter what you do there. I give up the safety, make them take the ball on the 35-yard line.
Or do you go, well, A.J. Williamson missed on this side of the field, and he missed when he was closer, so we don't mind the Beefeaters maybe getting in the field goal range. We'll get the ball back.
No, I think you got to calm everyone down here. Take the safety, and
well, I think the calming of the downing needs to be happening on the London side of the ball because they're animated after that Dylan Clark pop.
As they should be. Hey, this is not me. This is not me being a homer, okay? Because I will call it exactly as I see it. But that is the block that they want to get out of the sport of football. And they're kicking it.
Gerard Musavalli does punt this one away from deep in his own end zone. Cardona receives this at the 36-yard line, receives some blocks onto the far side. Tries to cut back in. He'll be smothered. Does the ball come loose? It does. Now the Sooners are trying to say it's theirs. The official goes into the pile.
And there's flags down. What a surprise.
Now a Sooner came out with the pigskin. Officials haven't given an indication just yet as to who has possession of this ball.
I think Ottawa's got the ball.
Now the only question, was he down by contact or was the pigskin loose?
They're giving the Beefeaters the ball. Objectional conduct against the unnecessary roughness against Ottawa.
Cardona was inside the 30-yard line to about the 32.
So it's going to be 1st and goal. It's going to be 1st and 10 for the Beefeaters, probably around the 20-yard line, somewhere around the 20. by the time this is all said and done here. This was a really well-played game. It's getting chippy at this point, Johnny.
Well, you mentioned it too. The leaves are changing color. It's getting cooler at night. Technically, with the autumn equinox behind us, this is the first official game of fall football in the OFC. And like you said, fall football, well, things start to heat up a little bit in the Canadian scene.
The temperature goes down. The temperatures on the field go up. The importance of the games on the field go up. How the games are called tighten up.
I mean, it is the number 7 versus the number 6 team in the host London Beefeaters taking on the visiting Ottawa Sooners, both teams with a 4-2 record. Ethan Chambers looks to hand this one off, and it's a different running back out of the backfield. This is Ian Wilson, number 40. Or I apologize, no, it's Chris Amazakita.
Yeah. Amazakita, the ball carrier on that, just straight ahead, gain of 3. That's kind of been the theme of the day. Gain of 3, gain of 3, gain of 3 up the middle, gain of 3 up the middle. It's that jab, it's the jab, it's the jab. I'm still looking for the knockout punch. You know, just call it what you will. They're going empty here.
Empty backfield for Chambers. Chambers with a straight QB draw right up the middle. Touchdown, Beefeaters. Chambers to pay dirt.
And again, you know, I had that feel they went empty for a reason. I kind of had the suspicion that they were going to, when they lined up in that formation, that was the call that was coming. And again, just great job. They clear out, they overload to match them up. They've had running lanes up the middle on that pass rush all day long. Ethan Chambers takes advantage of it, goes on the 15-yard scamper for the Beefs. Touchdown.
That's his 5th rushing touchdown of the season. Kind of shocking for a guy that's only thrown 2 touchdowns from the QB position. So this PAT is botched as well. The Sooners have a chance to get
down.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
No, he was down on the ground.
He didn't have possession of the ball, though. It's an oval, not a sphere. He didn't have it.
Now, I'm just going to say something that I picked up at halftime there. That's a new long snapper in for the Beefeaters. Okay, so high extra point. You had the miss on the field goal. Is the long snapping, you know, is that coming into is that factoring into things at this point?
Well, technically, if you just put the Beefeaters offense against the Sooners offense, just offense, it's a 13-0 game. LJ Dyer had a 2-yard touchdown run with 4:02 remaining in the opening quarter. The PAT was good. Then we just saw the QB draw, straight draw to Ethan Chambers, a 9-yard scamper. The PAT missed, though, to make it 23-6. The other points in this game have come through 3 field goals and a missed field goal from A.J. Williamson for 10 points. And the lone points on the board from the Sooners comes from Christian Fidel on a pick 6 with 10:52 remaining in the second Q. So ball is placed at the 45-yard line. Williamson is going to kick this one away. A low booming punt. This might ricochet out of bounds. I'm surprised the Sooner played it.
Well, he's got a lane to the outside. Watch out for this return. Good job.
Goes between the hash marks, and he cuts back against the grain. It takes 2 Beefeaters to tackle him down at the 40-yard line. That was number 14 on the return, Jackson Ayeba.
Yeah, he's had a couple really good returns there. He's got good hands. I really like how he attacked vertically. After he got to a certain point, he brought it straight up field.
Was that Ethan Chambers' 5th touchdown run of the season, the nail in the coffin, in your opinion, here in Week 7 in this crucial game?
If we're going to call it what it is, Ottawa hasn't done anything offensively. This might be too much for them to come back for at this point of the game. So I'm saying
do they open up the playbook here?
You have to. You absolutely have to.
3 run to the line. The quarterback hands this one off to Wilson. Wilson staggers through the line of scrimmage and picks up 3 yards.
You know, having a want to open up the playbook is one thing. Having the ability to do so might be an entirely different thing. You've lost a couple receivers in this game today. You haven't been able to connect with your number 1 targeted guy, number 4 for the Sooners. So again, you've had some disadvantages kind of going your way. I don't know if you've got the ability in your offense today to come back from this?
3 run to the line, 3 weapons to the left side for Cohen. He fires it over to the right side, though, and I think this scrapes off the carpet.
Even if he does catch that ball.
They saying he did. It'll bring up a 3rd and shy. Maybe we'll take a look at it one more time on the replay screen here, brought to you by the Nicholas Group as Cohen fires. This lays it to the right side.
Yeah, he got it. He got his arms under it.
He pretty much caught that in double coverage.
Yeah, again, it's just a sit down. It's just a zone route.
So for the 4th time in this game, the Ottawa Sooners are going to try and convert on 3rd down. So far clicking at 66% in this game.
So let's see what happens here as they bring a little bit more beef inside here. They're expecting a run, as I would as well.
I think they're trying to get the Beefeaters to jump. This is potentially the final play of the 3rd quarter. That's if there's no penalty. Cohen, pump faking, flushed out of the pocket, smothered behind the line of scrimmage, just trying to get this ball away. He can't. They're going to say that ball is live and fumbled away, recovered by the Beefeaters, and the Beefeaters come away with it through Jordan Mackey.
Yeah, and Mackenzie Lynch is there as well, bringing the pressure. Pressure's coming everywhere. They bring the extra linebacker down, and they're all coming. Look at them lining up, just eyeing their gaps. They all come. High snap, really good snap on that. But again, started with the pressure from the outside from number 20. Szymanski comes right off the edge, cleaned up at the end there by number 53 for the Beefeaters.
And it wasn't due to a lack of effort from Owen Cohen, because he tried. He pump faked, he eluded the 1 sack attempt, got to the near side, but you know, even if he had the chance to cock back his arm, I don't think he saw anybody free down the field in order to hit them with the pigskin, and as a result, he goes down. That's the, second failed 3rd conversion attempt in this half by the Ottawa Sooners, and the first play of the 4th quarter will be by the Beefeaters and Ethan Chambers. He'll hand this one off to Nigel Morris. Morris once again sort of running in the wrong direction. He'll be lucky if he can get back to the original line of scrimmage. He'll be shy. Another penalty on this play.
Yeah, you've got a holding call on the edge there. I think Coach Schneider's got to take this play out of the playbook for the rest of this week.
It ain't working.
It's not working. They've run it 3 times now, and I can't really think of a very successful play where they've got more than about 5 or 6 yards.
And not to nitpick on Nigel, maybe it is the play design, so I could have to bite my tongue, but he's running southbound before he tries to go northbound on each and every occasion they've ran that play.
Well, when you get the jet sweep, you always want to take a step back to gauge where the outside leverage is. Look, I've ran the jet sweep for a lot of years.
Do you want to get that much leverage, though, is what I'm getting at?
No, not necessarily that much, but I'm telling you they're getting out-leveraged at the point of attack. That speed on the side is going side to side. It's the wrong team to run the jet sweep on. You know, they're very quick. They're very, very fast sideline to sideline. I think that they have the recipe, just trying to pounding on them and try to play the field position game. It's worked for them so far.
Chambers looking to throw this one. Instead, he'll be sacked behind the line of scrimmage. The Sooners sandwiched him, including number 67 breaking through the line and penetrating in Unique Ajongo.
Yeah, the big man right up front there. You can see him just lining up in the one tech right over the nose there.
Remember, the Beefeaters started off this regular season 3-0. They beat these Sooners 42-14, the Skyhawks 52-6, and the Grizzlies of GTA 43-7. That put them in the top 5 of the CGFL power rankings, but then not one, but back-to-back losses of the St. Clair Saints put them at 3-2. A win over Hamilton last week puts them at 4-2 and number 7 in the nation. Chambers fakes the handoff, has time to throw this one deep. Instead, he's going to try and underthrow it, and is it picked off? Did he hang on to it?
Absolutely.
Interception, Sooners.
So they're trying to get that under route. I thought first of all, I thought the Beefeaters went offside there. They're trying to hit that. Chambers steps up, throws that ball, just not. That's a great pick.
Unbelievable job.
That's a really, really great job.
Maybe we can get that one more time. Great defense. And really, if it wasn't for the Sooners' defense, this game would be just like week 1 all over again.
Yeah, it really would be. But they are absolutely.
Look at that diving attempt.
Great interception there.
I believe that's Sean Charles, the linebacker, number 10.
Yeah,
hard to catch that number.
It was definitely number 10 that had the interception on that.
So Sean Charles gets an INT. It's Chambers' second interception thrown in this game. He's now got 5 INTs to match his 5 rushing touchdowns. This is a bizarre quarterback stat.
Yeah, again.
When you run nothing but power, maybe not so much.
Maybe.
Cohen to the near side. Webb completes the catch. Yards after the catch as he got the first down and more. Refusing to go down right away over midfield up to the 52-yard line.
That was kind of what I expected.
And he's banged up at the end of this play. Oh, no.
So this is kind of what I expected more out of Ottawa at the start of the game, was to get the ball wide. I thought they had a speed advantage against the Beefeaters.
Well, they had quad to the near side, and Cohen wasted no time getting it in this direction.
Yeah, because they only brought 3 defenders over. So you've got a +1 advantage. You've absolutely got to throw that every time, 100 times out of 100.
Cohen's thrown over 1,000 yards coming into this game, 8 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. Yet to throw a touchdown in this game, but he finds Mark Webb, who come into this game with 11 catches and 2 touchdowns in his own right.
That is the 3rd Ottawa receiver to leave in this game.
And it's the wrist or his hand. It looks like something got
hand.
jammed up.
Yeah, so again, it is chilly, okay?
The weather is changing.
The weather is changing. The ball is harder when it gets cold.
The leaves are falling.
Not quite yet.
Oh, no, yeah, I was going to say some of them. Some of them are starting to peel off.
Yeah.
As there's a blitz coming from the Beefeaters. On the screen, it's Wilson catching it. Wilson with a head of steam has the first down again. The Sooners are rolling on back-to-back plays. It's Wilson refusing to be denied. He gets 30 yards on this play, and they're close to the red zone. The first big offensive play of the game for the Sooners comes with 12 and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter.
And again, this is kind of what I thought they were going to do when they came into this game. I thought that this was their advantage. And now they're going to hurry up.
They're trying to speed it up and keep the Beefeaters off balance. Owen Cohen to the near side here. This one is caught as well, but there's a flag on the play.
I think you got a hold against Ottawa here on the interior line. I missed the number, but it looked like there's somebody,
I mean, if Mark
chop block.
If Mark Webb's hurt, partner, you were talking about earlier in this game, we already saw at halftime his shoulder was wrapped up. That was Devin Kacinda. We saw Noah Avery, or I believe it was Anthony Kolacek, get kind of banged up. And then recently now with Webb, and Webb has 2 touchdown catches. You'd think if there's a weapon you want to have in your arsenal right now, it would be Webb.
Yeah. So the call is it's an illegal chop block. You can't cut below the knees in the Canadian football game inside the tackles. So this is going back 15 yards, and it's going to be first down repeated again for Ottawa.
That's a crucial penalty. They just went back-to-back on huge plays, one through Wilson, the other through Webb. And I use this line, I feels like once a game, Ron Forwarda, but they just Plexico burst themselves.
Yeah, they really are. You've got all the momentum in the world, and I kind of thought that they had that a little bit at the start of the second quarter, and lo and behold, start of the third or fourth quarter, they had it again. But here comes the pressure, number 34 for the Beefeaters.
It's a big sack. Lynching him was barely lynched, and it's a huge tackle for a loss.
Great sack coming, just delayed the blitz a little bit there. And again, just really, really good job. Loss of about 8 or 9 yards on top of that, John. And it brings up third down and
it looked
more
like
than your drive home.
The door of opportunity as far as the Sooners offense is concerned to get their first points of the game. Remember, the 6 points comes through a pick 6 from Christian Fidel.
And they did have
it just slammed shut immediately.
And this just started with an interception. So, the drive started with an interception on top of it, so the defense has really done their part today.
Gerard Musavalli, beautiful punt yet again. Cardona awaiting this one back at his 10-yard line. Sweeps over to the near side, tries to cut against the grain. Sooners weren't having any of it. In on the tackle was, number 6, and I don't have a 6 on my depth chart.
Alrighty then. So, John,
just a reminder, Ron, that we are again back on the air a week away from today. It'll be a 5 p.m. kickoff right here in the same building, Citywide Sports Park, and they'll be taking on the Hamilton Hurricanes, the Beefeaters, where the Ottawa Sooners will actually be going out to the Belleville area and Loyalist College next Sunday. That's October 2nd. and they'll be taking on the Quinte Skyhawks in their final game of the regular season.
Yeah, again, this is what makes this game so important now. A win today, and the Beefeaters are going to lock up second place in the division, and I'll kind of go over why in a second.
So Chambers on the handoff, and they're going to pick up a handful of yards here to bring up second down with 11:05 remaining. Now, I'll throw this out there, though. London wins today. They improved to 5-2. Sooners dropped to 4-3.
Right.
The following week, though, what if London were to lose to Hamilton and Ottawa picks up the win over Quinte?
The head-to-head competition, they beat them twice. They sweep the season. That's kind of why this game was so important. That's why we saw them going for it on third down in the third quarter. They realized the importance. It's this game that we're seeing here today is going to be played again. I believe it's on the 20th of October.
Chambers hands this one off to Cardona, who tries to scamper out of bounds, but not before passing the first down marker and moving the chains.
Good job of understanding where the chains were. Got there, got to the edge.
A Sooner that was in pursuit of Keegan Cardona appeared to be hurt. The officials actually were calling for the trainers to come over. That was for Aiden Wallace-Blackett. But then Blackett just got right back on his feet, and the officials went, actually, you guys can go back to the sidelines.
Well, and they called the trainers out, so he has to leave the field for 3 plays now. So once the trainers get called, that's it. You got to go.
Yeah, and as a result, coming onto the field for him will be Dagnam Jonas, the 6'4" defensive back.
He's played himself a whale of a game. He's got a couple chances where he's had some interceptions as well.
Chambers takes the snap, hands this one off, and once again it is, I believe, LJ Dyer going into that black hole known as the Sooners defense.
I thought it was LJ. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it was LJ Dyers.
And again, just going back to my point earlier, last week against the Hamilton Hurricanes, 9 carries, 132 yards for Tazvang Bell. I mean, he also played in both of those losses against the St. Clair Saints, and I'm shocked he's been stapled to the bench for this entire Week 7 of competition. It's been all LJ Dyer, and let's face it, has a good resume against the Sooners. 3 touchdowns, including a 105-yard touchdown return to start the game in Week 1 against this opposition.
Yeah, so again, it's been the LJ Dyer show today. Really just grinding out, but he's getting close to being
Dyer gets banged up at the play, though, and I don't know why you'd have him still in this game is my real point. Jared Wilkinson, if you notice, the linebacker came on the end of this play and almost lands on the back of LJ's head.
Well, he does land on the back of his head, and, it's completely unintentional. I think he actually got shielded a little bit, but he's more the ankle and the calf that he's grabbing on this. That LJ was grabbing on this because it was just the way that he got tripped up there. So he's really been the workhorse. Again, I kind of mentioned it earlier. We don't know what the status of Tazvang Bell was today. We don't know if he was injured, if there was a practice thing. Coach Snyder is a big believer in doing things the right way, and the fact that if you miss practice, you don't play.
Right.
So, again, they do allow, to miss one, either a film or a practice, the Beefeaters. They have 3 nights. You have to make 2 of the 3. If you didn't make it, doesn't matter who you are. Coach Snyder's not going to allow you to play.
Star Power doesn't hold any bewilderment with Matt Schneider.
Right. So that we don't know what's going on that caused that. But that being said, with the game next week kind of being meaningless, position-wise, how much LJ Dyer, how much Tazvang Bell are we going to see?
Cardona refuses to go down, breaks off of 2 tackles. In fact, it took all of 7 black uniforms to touch him up, including number 45 at the end of the play, Wesley Evans, in order to stop him here with 8:58 on the clock.
Yeah, at the end there, we kind of saw a Sooner rolling around there. He got hit by some friendly fire here, unfortunately, who got absolutely just lit up at the end here. But great run by Cardona here. Sticks his foot in the ground, keeps his feet moving and everything else. Look at him bounce there. Right there, that's kind of where the friendly fire kind of happened at there. I think he just got the wind knocked out of him a little bit.
He is in quite a bit of discomfort on the ground right now.
I don't know if it was the wind or if it's shoulder or what it was, but just kind of the way he fell. But again, that's...
And considering we're at a 17-point deficit with 8:58, I mean, I know the Ravens blew a 21-point fourth-quarter lead last week in the professional football.
There's a lot of teams that blew fourth quarter and last 2 minutes of the game leads last week.
And you know what? If you're a Chargers fan, they just blow it.
Oh, stop.
No, as my point, though, is 17-point deficit. You would think, hey, the game isn't really over. There's still time. But then you go back to the Sooners' offense literally has a goose egg to their name today.
The Sooners' offense really hasn't been able to do much, and they're getting banged up here. But you've got to – you don't want to make this drive back down to London again in 3 weeks, which is what it's going to be. Obviously, everybody has the bye week on Thanksgiving, and the playoffs would start the week after that.
And they have got an awful lot of ice bags to fill for that bus heading home to the nation's capital, because we've already seen a handful of their wide receivers go down. The gentleman coming off the field right now is a guy I talked about earlier this game, Samir Lucene.
Yeah.
The Sooners had 11 INTs as a team coming into this game. They now have 13 with 2 on Chambers today. Samir led the charge with 3 INTs coming into today's competition. In fact, he's one of 3 Sooners with multiple INTs in 2022.
Yeah, but what that tells me about is the depth of the Ottawa backfield as well, and their ability to go ball hawking.
Chambers keeps this one and sticks it right in the chest of number 45, and you could actually see a Sooner just trying to punch, jab, smack that ball away, but Ian Wilson says, I'm bulldozing this one down for the first down and many more.
Yeah, this is a fullback under route. Look at him coming across there. Nobody picks up the fullback. That's a staple of the Coach Schneider offense. Look at the big man. Protection. High point that ball. 3 points of pressure. Great job there.
Listen,
good finish by the big man. Richard
Graham has been one of the leaders both on the defense, but he also gets it done offensively too, by the way, for the Sooners. But that last play, he went 0 for 3 in the potential stabbing and jabbing with his hands, and that allowed Wilson to get the first down and much more. As now they're going to go Cardona, so I mean, no more LJ Dyer after he got banged up on that last play, but given where we are in the game and the scoreboard, you'd assume the Stars are going to kind of stick to the sidelines in Matt Snyder's.
I think that, the guy you see running the ball, you don't want LJ to take any more punishment or any more abuse there. They're thinking a playoff run here. They're thinking games in end of October, beginning of November here for the Beefeaters.
I really would like to know, though, maybe it's just the curiosity that killed the cat, why Taz Van Bell, he suited up, folks. He looks good on the sidelines, but that's where he's been this entire game. As Cardona goes off to the right side, tried to find the edge and couldn't. In fact, he goes back 3 or 4 yards to bring up third down.
Well, Coach Schneider is not happy about something being wrong on that, as we could hear him clear as a bell over here. We're going to see the...
I mentioned this point earlier in our broadcast run. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Coming into this game, the Beefeaters had given up 121 points. Technically, it wasn't their defense, but now they've given up 127 points with the 6 given up today. Last season, the entire season, they only gave up 117, and they still got another game left to play next week here at home against Hamilton. Yep. Does any of that scare you, or you just think new year, new team?
New year, new team, new league.
And, well, still this guy had a 49-yarder earlier today, and they're going to try it again. He's 3 for 4 in the game. This is a low boomer, and it's going to go wide left, but it's ricocheting out of the back of the end zone. And regardless of whether he's 3 for 5 on field goals, he's technically 5 for 5 on pulling out points.
Yeah, exactly. Again, most of the points have come off the leg of our kicker friend there. This is just a little bit overextension here. And again, good snap. The hold is down. I think it's starting to get a little bit dewy out here, so we're starting to get a little bit of that moisture on citywide field here.
One point, though, that I would make is, he made a 49-yarder in that exact same area. That came back with 2:34 remaining in the third quarter of play.
Different temperature, different field conditions.
Not necessarily field positioning, partner, because that was literally in the same spot he hit the last one. But my point is that the arc on his kick, the approach that he took was different. To your point, he tried to give it a more of a low trajectory, and to be honest with you, don't see why you would had to when the previous one that he made, he didn't do that.
I really think his plant foot actually slipped out of it, caused him to do that.
Owen Cohen off the intended target's fingertips, and if you're a Sooner fan, I can hear your groans now. Noah Avery, the intended target. To be honest with you, not trying to harp on Avery, but he really had to reel this one in, and it would have been a huge gain for the Sooners to midfield.
Yeah, again, right in the breadbasket for him. We've seen a number of those from both teams, not being able to squeeze the football here today. It's kind of being, as a receiver coach myself, that's something that you really harp on. You want to run after the catch, but you got to catch the ball before you run.
Owen Cohen, 3 targets to the right side. Looks over to his left side. Pump fakes, trying to get out of the pocket, and he smashed from behind. Dylan Clark made the hit. The ball came loose. The Sooners do recover. But remember, Clark got banged up earlier in this half, and he was a little fumey, we'll say, when he went off to the sidelines. His teammates and coaches were trying to calm him down. Revenge is a dish served cold.
Yeah, it's good to see him back in the game. That might be his last snap of the afternoon as well, as we're starting to get to that point where I think you're going to start seeing the benches being cleared by both teams here.
Well, it's an 18-point lead. Remember, the Sooners did lose, though, 42-14 the first time these two teams hooked it up. But as I mentioned, it wasn't just the ring rust of an off season, it was multiple years of rust the Sooners were shaking off.
It was reestablishing a football program that from the game that I watched at the start of the year on the streaming services that the CJFL does supply us versus the team that I'm seeing out here today is day and night different.
Gerard Moussaval tries it, and he finally got a little piece of it.
22 got it blocked.
It's got a little, let's call it a pinky on it, Jordan Wright.
Jordan Wright, actually, he gets a hand on it. Again, he was clear the last, look at him coming right off the edge, coming through. Yeah, you see, just got his hand up there.
And Moussaval was, let's say, successful in 2 or 3 attempts before that, doing that exact same thing, giving him another real estate.
Exactly. He's just buying himself a little bit more time. That time, unfortunately, it doesn't get in. As we see a couple extra big boys coming in, we're going to see some power football here coming up here.
Kind of shocked to see Ethan Chambers going back out there, partner. Yeah. The starting quarterback with 5:15 remaining. I know it's just an 18-point game, but you would think with the multitude of QBs Matt Snyder has in his depth chart, they might be going to, well, a guy like Pinto.
Well,
flag on this play. It's a different running back coming out of the backfield here, and we've actually seen this gentleman before. That's Amos Keita.
Yeah. He's much more of the pounder inside, as we see a flag on the far side of the field here. But the reason Ethan Chambers is still in here is this is an offense that they will run. This is a slow down, 4-minute type of offense where they want to chew clock and run some stuff. Just get some first downs. So you want to have that familiarity in different situations and different scenarios. That's why the quarterback is still in on this.
Well, unless the Okanagan Sun, St. Clair Saints, and Regina Thunder, your lone 3 undefeated teams in the CJFL, all lose in CJFL Week 10 action, I don't know how much the London Beefeaters can climb from number 7, but it's safe to say they'll probably go against or over number 6 Ottawa coming into this game.
Yeah, they're going to be number 6 and possibly number 5 depending on how things go. Great move in the hole.
He made 3 or 4 Sooners miss tackles, and as a result, he's moved the chains. Cardona on the first down.
Wow, what an absolute amazing move in the hole here. I'm really glad. Look at the beat.
Puts on the brakes.
Right there. Yeah. Just great job of keeping your feet going, feeling contact, running through the contact. That is exactly how you draw that up.
And if it wasn't for the linebacker, Jared Wilkinson, at the very end of that play kind of steamrolling him off the off shoulder, I don't think he was going to go down.
No. And again, this is an attitude drive for the Beefeaters. They want to establish the run. They want to run the clock a little bit here, pound the rock. This is what they want to do.
Well, Amos Keita will do that, and the bulldozer approach will pick up 3 or 4 yards here. And the Sooners are standing tall, but as I say that, looks like a lineman is down on the field, and the training staff's going to have to get out there.
Yeah, a good shot of Coach Snyder on the far side of the field. Those lovely red shoes of his Beefeater shoes, as he likes to call them.
We'll bring back the Hawaiian shirts.
Bring back the Hawaiian. That was a different coaching staff, different everything else. And again, that was what represented those guys. And Matt is much more of a classic, old school type of coach.
Let me throw this at you, though.
Sure.
The Beefeaters lost 2 games in the regular season in the 2021 OFC regular season. Those 2 games were to the St. Clair Saints, both one at home, one on the road.
Yep.
They would eventually see those Saints, though, in the OFC final, and as the fans all across our broadcast airwaves are well aware of right now, they won it with a walk-off rouge, the most Canadian play in all football. We skip ahead to the 2022 season. If they win today, which it looks like they are just a mere 409 away from doing, and they hold off the Hamilton Hurricanes next week here at home, well, the Beefeaters will lose all of 2 games in the regular season, both to the Saints, probably setting up a Saints-Beefeaters final in Windsor. You see what I'm getting at?
Absolutely.
So as much as these 2 teams have changed, the head coach has changed, the personnel and the culture might be changing, looks a little deja vu all over again regardless.
There's an old saying in sports, the more things change, the more things stay the same. So, traditions and recruiting and coaching and the ability to draw good players that both of these programs can do. And let's be realistic. Hamilton's done a great job of recruiting, of rebuilding that. That was a veteran-laden team last year that lost a lot of different players, and they are, they're kind of back at it as well.
And I give a big tip of that to Ottawa because they're coming back after a hiatus. They lose their first game of the season at home to London. They go on a 4-game winning streak, and they lost to St. Clair, who hasn't in the OFC this season.
Yeah, exactly. And, we kind of thought and said, at the start of the year, it's like, okay, well, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Hamilton, Ottawa? Like, who's that, other team going to be? This Ottawa team has drastically improved over the product I saw week 1 over tonight.
And despite the fact that, it's 24-6 and London's had this one in the bag, Ottawa really hasn't shown any offense. That's not to say, though, that come playoff time that a team like Hamilton or Ottawa couldn't upset a London or a St. Clair.
No, exactly.
And I'll throw this out. There's a little cheeky thing to think about, though. They lose to London, they go on a 4-game win streak.
Yeah.
They lose to London today. If they go on a 4-game win streak, they're OFC champions.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not only that, but they're going to the national semifinals.
Which, by the way, will be played against a Prairie team, and then the winner goes and plays the BC finalists. As this was a bit of a schoolyard play, and it takes 4 black uniforms to throw them down to the grass.
Yeah, but it's not before the yards are gained. Needed 2, got 3 or 4. First down Beefeaters, reset the ball, run the clock. And that's what this drive is about.
Chambers goes over to the coaching staff and Matt Schneider, has a bit of a conversation, goes back to the huddle, and probably saying exactly what you just said to the rest of the crew.
Yeah, and this is like I said, I've coached with Matt Schneider. I know this feel. This is the attitude drive. This is the we want to
Beefeaters are 3 for 3 today, by the way, in the red zone. They had the L.J. Dyer touchdown, and then they had the Ethan Chambers QB draw. Or I should say they're 2 for 2, trying to be 3 for 3. They're having the red zone right now. M. Zakeda, the ball came loose. It's rumbling between all the legs. Who has it? The Sooners are pointing in their direction.
A lot of Sooners are pointing in their direction.
Looks like there was a fumble.
So Amos Keita had it, and as he took a step through the line of scrimmage, the ball ricocheted off of the carpet here at Citywide, and now they're still fighting for it in the dog pile underneath.
Here's the replay here. It's just that straight power, straight ahead.
I love the 8-on-8 love right here between Chambers and Owen Cohen. That's 9 in the distance. Aiden Wallace Blackett. But they were having a conversation, looked like they were beefing, and then all of a sudden shaked hands and hugged it out.
Yeah, and I've seen that a number of times during this game. A
lot of sportsmanship.
There's a lot of respect. And as chippy as the game got at one point, it's been a fairly clean game. Unsportsmanlike conduct, unnecessary roughness. There's been a couple flags.
It's a competitive edge.
Yes.
Whereas we saw in that St. Clair game, there was a bit more than a competitive edge.
Those two, let's call it what it is.
Bad blood.
Those two teams do not like each other.
Some bad blood.
And
can we talk about how you're wrapping yourself in a Chargers blanket? Is that thing is it like the offense? Does it even work?
Wow.
Is it like your quarterback
You know,
and it's got some holes in it? This one is
Nice completion.
caught. Wow. Owen
Really?
Cohen's had some laser beam so far here today, but that time stuck right in the gullet of Noah Avery, a guy he's tried to target a handful of times in this game.
So back to the blanket thing here. All right.
Does it keep you warm, Ron?
It keeps my back warm.
Okay.
And I'm just going to say this for what it is. I took about 5 painkillers before the start of this game.
PC for all the children listening at home.
They
You
were
do something
like
you don't do.
Tylenol, Motrin, Advil.
Oh, you're mixing medication. Also something you don't do, by the way.
Yes, I know, but I've also been
Stop digging yourself a hole, Ron. I don't want to know what you're doing after the game.
I've actually been suffering from a bad back for about a week now.
You need a bacchiotomy, is
I
Owen
need
Cohen
something,
trying to get
dude.
out of the pocket. He can't. And who's in on it?
Guess
It's the
who?
Belleville native. Now, this guy's your defending OFC Defensive Player of the Week. How does he not get penciled in this week, too? He's got multiple sacks in this game. He's been an absolute brick wall in a white, blue, and red uniform.
Yeah, talk about a game, a Belleville area player playing an Ottawa-based team. Who would have thought that he'd come with a little bit of an edge to him?
Well, and I said this to you earlier in this season when they were playing Quinty. If you're the Skyhawks, are you not going, get this guy on our team? Like,
Well, he goes to school up here.
well, I mean, they got Loyalist College down there. It's not a bad school.
I don't think they have a university, though.
Owen Cohen, well, university kids. As Owen Cohen is going to roll out, has all day, and a receiver down the field, just out of the reach of Avery. As again, it was Noah Avery, somewhat in double coverage, though, as he was being guarded tightly by Aiden Mathieu, as well as Toby Gibobignani. I'm not going to get that name right.
No. No, I'm glad you took a shot at it because I wasn't going to. Let's call it what it is there.
We got to request a pronunciation guide, I think.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I look at things and, God bless you, John, for
trying.
broadcast.
Yeah, you just throw it out there.
I kind of looked
Hope
at
it sticks.
at a couple names and went, nope.
Want to give a big shout out, though, to the Constantines helping us out with this broadcast. Alex Schleihoff on camera. Adam Melrose holding down the production and the directing. And, of course, you, Ron Forwarda, helping me, Johnny Yu, get through this OFC Week 7 action featuring the number 7 team in the London Beefeaters and the number 6 team in the nation, the Ottawa Sooners.
Yeah, again, it's been a very, very well-played, close-to-the-vest type of game. Ottawa refusing to give up those free points that a lot of teams like to do.
Yeah, especially in the
Field position.
Canadian brand of football. So, the Beefeaters did touch it. That makes the ball live.
Yeah, but they had to, because that was the punter screaming down there to try to recover it otherwise.
As far as special teams is concerned, this might be a little odd to say considering, he doesn't have any field goal points and none of his punts resulted in any rouges. But I think Jared Musavali could also be your OFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
Look at him screaming in there at the very end. That was awesome.
If it wasn't
smart heads-up play.
If it wasn't for his punts and punt actions, I think this is a 20, 30 point lead for the Beefeaters, not the 18-point lead we see currently.
Yeah, it quite honestly could have been what it was week 1, which was that 30 kind of.
42-14. That's right.
That 30-odd point difference that we saw. So, it's good to see improvement from any team.
Chambers still out there, by the way, the starting quarterback for the London Beefeaters. Hands it off to Keegan Cardona. Cardona goes off to the right side, and you can tell the Sooners defense is getting tired. They give up 8 yards.
Yeah, big run off the right-hand side, and you just double team, hat on hat, work to the linebackers. Good job, good push. Get to the edge. Get your shoulder square, get north-south, get the yards, keep the clock moving.
And again, a reminder that Beefs TV is back in action next week here at Citywide Sports Park. It's a 5 p.m. kickoff on your Saturday, where the London Beefeaters will be taking on the Hamilton Hurricanes, a team they beat 16-15 at Tim Hortons Field in last week's competition. So Amos Akita is going to get this ball, and, good on him considering the last time he touched it, he fumbled the rock away.
Just to that point of next week's game, John, I understand it have a no impact on the Beefeaters playoff standings, but what is that game going to do to Hamilton, okay?
And I still think it means something to Ottawa, especially if Hamilton can beat London. No, it's not going to help Ottawa jump in front of London. I get that point on the head-to-head, but it also, messes with momentum heading into the postseason.
Then all of a sudden, what does that game mean to Hamilton? Who are they playing today? What is that result going to be? As we see,
Emesquita got the
everywhere.
ball, and he was immediately hammered like a nail sticking out of a board. And Sooners are pretty much saying, hey, we got the ball, but that was well after it ricocheted off the turf.
Yeah, absolutely. It was up well after. And again, I think you had an offside to
97 seconds remains in Week 7 competition here in London as the Beefeaters look like they're going to improve to 5-2. They'll have a chance to finish 6-2 if they beat Hamilton next week here at home live on Beefs TV. And if they did that, well, deja vu all over again. They finished 6-2 last year with 2 losses to the Saints. They'll finish 6-2 this year with 2 losses to the Saints. That's if they get through the next, 97 seconds here and win over Hamilton next week.
Yeah, so again, my point to that was, Hamilton next week is, depending on.
Chambers was trying to get the Sooners to bite. Everybody jumped, I think, both in black and white. Sometimes it is a black and white issue.
Yeah, sometimes. It's definitely going to be against the Beefeaters. Well, no. Yeah, it is. You've got your.
It was Chambers trying to get the Sooners to bite, but I think he ended up throwing his own team off.
Okay, but are the refs going to say that the lineman was induced by the defense? No, they're definitely not going to. It's going against the Beefeaters. It was against the Sooners. Okay, so they've pointed that the different direction every single time. But anyway, I digress. My point was, depending on who Hamilton was playing today, if they win next week, do they avoid that road trip to Windsor in the playoffs, and does that make Ottawa have to go? Like, what does that do playoff implication-wise? It's not going to change anything for the Beefeaters. They're going to be the 2 seed now, and it's just a matter of who's going to be 3 and who's going to be 4.
Who gets served up to the Saints in the opening round?
And who does Ottawa play next week is another question that you have to think about. So does Ottawa have to make that trip down the 401 that Windsor had to make last week? So there's a few different scenarios in here that we haven't really considered for upcoming events. The Beefeaters are going to end up second in the conference.
Well, the Hurricanes are playing the Saints right now at Tim Hortons Field with a 7 p.m. kickoff. It is Cardona trying to go towards the end zone. Man, oh man, you can't blame the Sooners defense, though.
No.
You could easily give up at this point with 1 minute and 6 seconds on the clock, but they refuse to do so. Unfortunately, it looks like it's cost them another body as a Sooner is down at the goal line.
Yeah, great tackle, great job by the Ottawa Sooners, keeping him out of the end zone, number 9.
That's Wallace Blackett.
Yeah, some great sportsmanship at the end of it. Look, you're just trying to settle down, get down in there. Good job. Brings him down. Leave that production going to the very end here. It's the very end that I want to see here, which is the sportsmanship, which is the mutual respect that these two teams have shown each other.
Well, and Wallace Blackett's shown that to numerous Beefeaters.
Right here. There you go. So
I told you
earlier
in this drive, too, it looked to me from a distance, body language was like, oh, is he starting to beef with Ethan Chambers? And they ended up slapping hands and hugging it out. So I was like, there is some mutual respect between everybody on the field, which is great to see.
Football is a physical game, and it's very taxing on the body.
So dare I say, what if, Ron Forwarder, the Hamilton Hurricanes somehow were able to upset the St. Clair Saints here at home?
There's where I'm going with that.
Then we're going to throw a real monkey wrench into the standings, and when you consider that the Saints are number 2 in the nation with a perfect 6-0 record, that would be an awful tall task for the Hamilton Hurricanes. But they are at home. They're at Tim Hortons Field, and I'd imagine they're pretty, I was going to use a word I can't say on the air, but angry about losing via the Rouge last week to London.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different scenarios there. I just, the Beefeaters are going to be the 2 seed. St. Clair is going to be the 1 seed. A lot of different scenarios are going to be coming into effect of who is the 3 and who's the 4, who's traveling where, who's going to Windsor, who's going to London.
And I'll say this for Ottawa. home field advantage would be so crucial to them because, a team like Windsor has to travel 8 or 9 hours down to the nation's capital. A team like London got to travel 7 hours. But then if you're the road team, it flips the script on Ottawa because then they're the ones getting loaded up on a bus and having sort of all that hype dissipate over the hours and hours you're on. I drove down from my farm. It was about 3 hours, and I'm on the east side of GTA. I couldn't imagine taxiing on another 4+ hours heading to the nation's capital on top of that.
Well, and that is a long drive. Yeah, for someone who has done that this past summer, for a game on the Saturday, that is a long drive, and it is very taxing. And thank goodness we decided to do the night before.
And as we see, another Sooner sadly being carried off to the sideline this time, we've seen at least 4 or 5 Ottawa players that'll be bandaged up on that bus heading home.
Yeah, so and that is a long physical drive. It's very taxing as we see
Pinto behind the line of center. Pinto's going to, hand this one off to Keegan Cardona. Cardona's into the end zone. There is a flag on the play, though, with 58 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, I think you're going to have Ottawa lining up offside, unfortunately. Touchdown's going to count as we've got, under a minute left to go. Just waiting to confirm that call there.
The officials gathering together. The penalty is declined, and as you are right, Keegan Cardona's 2-yard touchdown will stand. It increases it to a 30-6 scoreboard with the PAT looming.
So, PAT looming, 58 seconds left. John, I'm just going to add to that that point that we were talking about that 7-hour drive from Ottawa to London. That's a 9.5-hour drive to Windsor.
Right.
So,
it gets even, especially when you're going against number 2 and number 1. It doesn't get any easier as the PAT is good.
And out of the stadium, I would add.
So as a result, 31-6. And remember, the lone score from Ottawa came off of a pick 6. All the way back with 10:52 remaining in the second quarter. It was Christian Fidel getting one of the 2 interceptions on Ethan Chambers here on your Saturday night.
So ponder a question here. Has it been Ottawa's inability to move the ball offensively, or are we missing the point that the Beefeaters defense fixed something?
Well, they fixed something definitely compared to the last couple games, including the 16-15 win over Hamilton, but then back-to-back losses to the Saints. In that 42-14 victory over the Sooners, the defense did force 6 turnovers.
Yeah.
So they don't have 6 turnovers tonight. It's been hard-nosed defense getting it done. I will say they have 1 interception and 1 fumble recovery.
Yeah, so they haven't turned the ball over. They've had opportunities, though.
If you include the failed 3-point converts, they actually do have 5 turnovers so far in this game.
The 3 turnover on downs as well. So a lot of different things have been going on, but this defense has really, really balled out tonight, and they've played themselves a whale of a game.
Keegan Cardona with 58 seconds left punches it out from 2 yards, and now it is a 31-6 scoreboard. The Sooners coming back the other way. This kick return, and Anyanka gets stuttered in midfield and laterals it back, almost Madden-esque. As this play continues, the Sooners look like they're going in the wrong direction, though. So they do eventually lateral that ball back. Richard Graham's the last one to have it in his hands, but, well, the Sooners were trying a little bit of anything. They're breaking out the kitchen sink.
Yeah, and again, just discipline here, trying to make a play happen there, pitches it back, and then at the very, very end, Connor the Crusher Crozier in to finish the tackle. Kid I've known very, very well. I had the pleasure of coaching him since he was like 9 years old. 10 years old, back at Adam football in London Minor. So I've been waiting to say his name once I realized it was him out there, and I'm glad I was able to do that. So Connor, whale of a game. It's great to see him getting lots of reps and everything else. But this defense, going back to it, this defense has played an outstanding game, and they're going to be tough to score against.
43 seconds left in this game. The quarterback came into this contest, Owen Cohn, with 1,000+ passing yards. Do you throw caution to the wind? No. Instead, they're going to go to the running game here. And it looks like it's close to the first down. In fact, he picks up 11 yards to move the chains. 36 seconds left on the clock.
At this point, you just want to get out of Dodge. You don't want anyone else to get injured. You don't want anyone else getting hurt. 36 seconds, you get the first down. You got another 3 or 4 snaps in this game, and then we're going to call it a day. As they're running the clock now.
And no slouch to the Quinte Skyhawks, but let's face it, you would assume the Ottawa Sooners, who already beat the Quinte Skyhawks 53-3 in week 4 of competition, should probably have that game in the bag in Belleville. Although anything is possible, they should probably finish up the season 5-3. London's going to improve to 5-2 and a chance at 6-2 next week when they play Hamilton, as this run play by the Sooners picks up another 3 yards.
So again, that was kind of the scenarios that I was talking about. Well, who plays who plays who tonight, who plays who next week, that game next weekend, although...
Timeout taken by Ottawa here with 8 seconds remaining in the game.
Well, I think it's because someone's helmet came off, to be honest with you, or at the very end there. So to keep them on the field, you have to call your timeout. But there's probably a player or two that you want to put on film for other teams to prepare for. Just have something in the back of your head. And again, I got a distinct feeling that these two teams will be seeing each other in 3 weeks.
One more time, you think, in the postseason, potentially a semifinal battle?
Yeah.
As it is a blitz coming here by the Beefeaters. Maybe one last deep ball thrown by Owen Cohen, trying to go down the field, over through the intended target, and Matthew Gravel. 3 seconds left on the clock.
And that's exactly why you call that timeout, because you want to put something on film. You want to show the speed at the receiver. Hey, guys, be aware that this guy is not afraid to throw that deep ball or something like that. So these, although you look at things as a fan and go, why are you doing that? The game's out of question. There's a reason that they're putting certain things on film and they're not putting other things on film.
Well, back on August 13th at what is known now as Tag Stadium at Carleton University, the Ottawa Sooners lost 42-14 in their first game back into the OFC fold after a couple years of being absent. They went on a 4-game win streak that was snapped by St. Clair. Unfortunately, it looks like they've lost back-to-back games. Final play of the game. Owen Cohen looks to complete this pass. It's incomplete, with the intended target being David Macawera. And the Beefeaters win. The Beefeaters win in a 31-6 game. They defeat the Ottawa Sooners to improve to 5-2 on the regular season. And you would assume climb the CJFL power rankings out of that number 7 slot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to see a flip of that. Full marks to Ottawa, who really battled it today. The score doesn't necessarily indicate it, but I'm telling you, they played a whale of a game. This team is a physical team. They're setting some things up for a couple weeks from now. Not saying, I'm just saying, but this isn't the last time we saw the black and orange against the white and the red.
We'll go to the Nicholas Group box score to round out this scoring affair from 31-6. It started off with L.J. Dyer on a 2-yard run with 4:02 remaining in the first quarter. It was the lone touchdown of the first quarter as Dyer made it 7-0. With 10:52 remaining in the second quarter, Ottawa would pick up their only points of the game through Christian Fidale on a pick six, 50-plus yards to the house. Unfortunately, Ron, the PAT was missed, and that's as close as the Sooners would come here on your Friday night. It was at one point a 7-6 game that ends up being a 31-6 final. So what happened between then and there? Well, 3 consecutive A.J. Williamson field goals, a 49-yarder, a 29-yarder, and a 41-yarder to round out the half to bring it up to 16-6. He would miss a 23-yarder and miss a 44-yarder in the third and fourth quarter, respectively, but got a rouge on each. An Ethan Chambers 9-yard run and a Keegan Cardona 2-yard run brought us to the 31-6 final as the greatest line in all of sports forms at midfield.
Yeah, great respect shown to each other, to both of these teams. You always wonder sometimes at the end of the game. It's a physical game. It's a passionate game. These are young men that have really, they've done themselves a lot of pride for both of these organizations. Welcome back to the CJFL, the Ottawa Sooners. Great game. John, fantastic game. I'll be here next Saturday. How about you?
Big shout-outs to our camera crew and Alex Schleihoff. The Constantine's helping us out with the graphics and scoring. Adam Melrose with the production and directing. Ron, thanks for joining. Yours truly, Johnny Yu, on another OFC game here on Beefs TV. And as Ron was alluding to, folks, You don't have to touch that dial. Next week, same location, same time, Citywide Sports Park, 5 p.m. kickoff. They'll be taking on the Hamilton Hurricanes, will your London Beefeaters, in the final game of the regular season. For the rest of the crew, it's a 31-6 final for the London Beefeaters. I'm Johnny Yu. We'll catch you around next week here on Beefs TV.